It's the third round of the Blancpain GT Series at the historic Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. But before the action gets underway, let's look back at the last sprint race in Misano. Off the line, it was a fantastic start from the Rowe Racing BMW that went around the outside of the Bentley at turn 1 and moved into the lead of the race. Philippe Eng looking really strong in the early stages. There was a dramatic spin in the middle of the pack, and then Dries van Thor hit the back of Maxime Soulé, sending the Bentley spinning. Van Thor would later get a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, the battles were starting to close in throughout the order. A really tight pack as Van Thor served his drive-through. A great move from Will Stevens, forcing his way past the 98 BMW down at the hairpin, making his first GT racing appearance. Then the Rinaldi Ferrari couldn't hold the charge from the 75 ISR Audi of Philippe Salaquada. He made up a place. The battle was on for the lead. Up the inside went the Audi and just managed to force his way through. Frédéric Verviche moving into the lead of the race. The number 1 WRT car then moved into a very commanding lead, lapping Dries van Thor in the 4 car, who'd had to serve that drive-through penalty. The battles were frantic throughout the rest of the order. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff going up the inside of the 33 car. The WRT Audis everywhere, but that car soon had to serve a drive-through penalty. Meyer-Melnoff not impressed. The 99 Rowe BMW was still coming under pressure. The Acura ASP car was right up behind, but there were no such troubles for Laurens van Thor leading the way. Then the move was on for third place. Up the inside, a very harsh move from Felix Rosenqvist, but he managed to get the move done. Philippe Eng dropped down a position. The 88 car, the Acura ASP Mercedes, up a place. But it wasn't going to last. They retired with just laps to go. But the checker flag fell for Laurens van Thor and Frédéric Verviche, winning the first race of the 2016 season. That was Misano. This is Brands Hatch, and let's have a look at some of the runners and riders. Sergio Jimenez makes his first Sprint Series appearance of the season. He's in the number 3 car alongside Rodrigo Baptista, while home heroes Michael Meadows and Stuart Leonard know this Grand Prix circuit very well, and Leonard is hoping that they can have a good weekend, but knows it's going to be tough.
We're obviously here to win, as with any race, but it is it's my first race at Brands. Mike has done a lot in Porsches here in the past and has been very quick. We expect the car to perform well, and I see no reason why we couldn't win the overall.
Of the 2 M Sport Bentleys, the number 8 car has had the better start to the season. Soulé and Soucek winning in the qualifying race in Misano and having a strong finish at Monza. But in the number 7 car, Stephen Kane is excited to get back behind the wheel of Brands Hatch, a circuit he knows well, having raced here in British Formula 3 many years ago.
Obviously it's a home race for myself and for Bentley, and to be back in Britain in Brands Hatch is, you know, it's the first track that I'd ever came to in the mainland in the UK, and it's, you know, living here and being a resident is absolutely amazing. So to win with the Bentley at Brands Hatch is the main aim, and it's always great to come home and see your home fans and racing in front of them and doing well.
After taking victory in Monza, Com Ledegaard now moves to the Sprint Series in the 59 car. He's going to be alongside Martin Plowman at the Garage 59 McLaren team. While in 58, it's once again Alvaro Parent and Rob Bell. Bell still buzzing, second in the championship after victory at Monza.
Monza's still fresh in the memory, so we're coming here with a bit of confidence. The car worked well there. We had a decent opening race at Misano as well, but let's hope we come here and continue where we left off at Monza. I hope the weather stays as it is. Mixed conditions can always throw up a lot of issues when you've got so many cars on the grid. So let's hope it stays as it is, and you know, the McLaren works fantastically well in these conditions, so fingers crossed it stays as it is. It's the same for everyone then, and the racing should be great then.
This weekend there are 5 entries in the Pro-Am Cup in the Blancpain GT Series. One of them is the 66 car. The Black Pearl Racing entry, driving the Ferrari 458 Italia, is the Am, which is Steve Parrow, the Austrian driver, and his pro Daniel Keilwitz, the German, who had a very good run in Monza a couple of weeks ago.
Monza was really good for us. The race was really good with the team. My first race in the Blancpain, and now we will try to get a good pace also in Brands Hatch. I'm very excited about the track. I heard a lot about the corners here, and I think it will be a nice race here.
The 3-car HTP entry is back. In 85, a man who knows a lot about this circuit, Jasmine Jafar, after finishing second in the British Formula 3 Championship. But the men to watch, Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch. Baumann finishing second last time out.
Monza, I was a bit surprised. We were such a good, at the end we were so good. Started on qualifying, Maxi did a great lap. And here in Brands Hatch, it's my first time on the track here. I did the track day with the rental car this week, but hopefully we can make the same as in Monza, and it continues like this.
It's another three-car team over at Attempto Racing. There with the Lamborghini Huracans. In the 101 car, Daniel Zampieri, the Italian, is partnered with Patrick Niederhauser from Switzerland. Meanwhile, in 100, Max van Splunteren is with development driver Jeroen Mul.
I have experience in development of the car early 2015 when Lamborghini started the program from the factory with the new Huracan GT3 you see behind me. And then also having the experience from setting up the car last year for the Blancpain Endurance Series. I feel that I'm one of the lucky guys that already has driving experience and setting up experience with this car. So especially that on finding the basis from which to work on and then having the right tools to adjust the car in the way you want it. I think that's my main asset here.
At Rowe Racing, Alexander Sims and Philip Eng had an excellent opening weekend in Misano. Monza wasn't too bad either, and they're going to be looking to run towards the front of the order again. In 98, there's a new entry. Nick Katzberg can't make it, so Jesse Krohn is the man alongside Steph Dusseldorp this weekend. But Krohn knows this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit well.
Basically, I started my racing career in England from Brands Hatch, doing Formula Ford Festival, and I've always enjoyed the track. It's been a good place for me, and it's been a successful place for me. So I think it should be good also with the GT car. It's a hard championship. It's probably the hardest GT championship in the world. I'm here to do the best we can, help the team to get a result. It's not going to be easy, but I think we have the right team and the right driver lineup to do a good job here.
Takaboshi and Buncombe will once again share the 23 RJN Nissan, while in car 22, Sean Walkinshaw, who got a podium here last year, is partnered with Mexican Ricardo Sanchez.
The track suits the car, especially on Sector 2 and Sector 3. Sector 1 is not the best sector for us, but if we manage to have a good balance with the team, I think we can be in the podium in silver class for sure. So looking forward for the race.
It's time for the qualifying race here at Brands Hatch ahead of the third round of the Blancpain GT Series season. It's the Sprint Cup element, 2 one-hour races coming up. This qualifying race will set the grid for the main race later on, which is the place where you can really score the championship points. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson as we look down on a 37-car grid here at Brands Hatch. Absolutely massive and a wonderful day.
Well, it's just perfect. Woke up this morning. Gorgeous May morning, as they always are, of course. And, well, there you are. Look at the track temperature already. Almost 40 Celsius. Ambient, almost 27. I mean, could you want for a better day?
Certainly not. Here's how the championship stands in the Sprint Cup coming into this weekend. Laurens van Thor and Frederik Verviesche leading. The Belgians with 30 points. 9 points clear of Philip Eng and Alexander Sims, with Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch third in the championship at the moment. Rob Bell and Alvaro Perez in fourth. Salaquada and Stippler, then Norbert Seidler and Marco Seefried completing the top 6 in the Sprint Cup standings. But Van Thor and Verviesche, after that victory in Misano, looking very healthy up at the top there. And further down, you've got Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulé, who won the qualifying race. That's where they picked up their 8 points from, even though they didn't actually score points in the main race last time out. Simkoviak and Schneider in 8th. And as far as it's concerned overall, this is the inclusion of the Sprint Cup and the Endurance Cup. Max Buch and Dominic Baumann lead the way by 2 points over Rob Bell in the Garage 59 McLaren. Van Thor and Verviesche down in third place after they didn't have a strong weekend. The safety car pulls into the pits and the 1 hour qualifying race about to get underway. It's Franck Pereira on pole for the ISR Audi team. Jules Simkoviak alongside him. On the second row, it's Jasmine Jafar and Christopher Mies. And look at that, they're going already. The lights are still red, but it's a very, very quick start. And it looks like it's Simkoviak on the outside who's got the best getaway. Can he go around the outside of Paddy Ben? Yes! Simkoviak through and into the lead. A bit of a bump, a couple of bumps between Christopher Mies and the other HDP Mercedes. But Simkoviak leads. Down to second goes Franck Pereira in the ISR Audi. Third now is Christopher Mies. But what a good start around the outside, John.
Yeah, man, emphatic from Jules Simkoviak. He was on the outside. He could break that a little bit later in the run into Paddy Ben, but I think Franck Pereira was just being a touch too cautious, and he gave it up rather easily.
Great start from Maximilian Buch in that 84 HTP Mercedes. He's just gone around the outside of the car we were on board with there, Robin Freitz. So really good start from Buch. He has passed Freitz, and it wasn't a good day at all in qualifying for the WRT pairing. It was 9th and 10th on the grid for Van Thor and Freitz respectively, and now Maximilian Buch is getting involved in that fight too. But up at the front, Simkoviak's disappearing on up the road. In second place, it's Pereira. He's under a lot of pressure at the moment from Christopher Mies, but Simkoviak is a second ahead as they come through the sort of middle sector.
Yeah, but he's got the benefit, of course, by running clear air. He's the only car in the lead of the race, and all he has to do is just focus on what's ahead, not concerned about any of the other battles that are going on. And one of the issues we're going to see here, I think, later on in this race is that a lot of cars are going to get bunched together, and of course that then means overtaking becomes more difficult. The more bunching, the more difficult it is to overtake. Look at them coming into clearways, side by side going through, and great racing.
Yeah, that was on the outside, the 100 car getting a little bit forced wide, and Jeroen Mull at the wheel there as he loses out of position, I think, to the 26th car, which is the Mike Parisi Science-Lock Racing Audi. But there's the battle for second place coming around the hairpin. It's a good start as well from Jasmine Jafar, holding onto that fourth spot at the moment. He's under a lot of pressure from Alvaro Parent behind him. Then it's Tristan Vautier, then it's Mirko Bortolotti, then it is Laurens Van Thor, then it is Maximilian Buch, and then it is Robin Freitz as they flash through Surtees and down towards Pilgrim's Drop again.
I mean, wherever you look through the field, there's quality. Look how far back the Bentleys are. 7 of Stephen Kane and Adrian, the Suchek in the number 8 car. I mean, the BMW and the Bentley getting almost into contact as they come out of the bottom of Paddock Bend and up. Bentley was thinking about a move, couldn't get it done.
Here's a look at the start again. Great effort from Simkoviak, but it was quite a spread out start, wasn't it? The two leaders were pretty much at full racing speed before the lights went green.
I have to say, in fairness, I'm glad they were, because had we had the field more compacted coming into Paddock Bend, up into Druid, maybe it would have had a different outcome. But by going as quickly as the front row did, it did allow them to get a bit of a gap, and then those that were still coming round clearways hadn't even a clue the race had started.
53 minutes to go. This is the battle over second place. Then it's Jasmine Jafar in fourth, Parent in fifth, Vautier 6th, Bortolotti 7th, Van Thor 8th. The cars just non-stop flashing through. There's Marcus Vingelock, who's down in something like 12th or 13th position at the moment as Max Buch pushes hard. He's under a bit of pressure now, though, as they come down towards clearways. He's having to cover the inside line. I don't think Freitz will be able to go around the outside at clearways, though, but he's looking the faster of those two cars at the moment.
I mean, one thing that's very clear is that the outcome of qualifying on Saturday has clearly had a major effect on who can do what. I mean, Laurens Van Thor qualified only 9th. I mean, on the 5th row of the grid. Normally he wouldn't even know where the 5th row of the grid was if you asked him to take you there.
Here's an attack again from Stephen Kane. He's been desperately trying to get past Philip Eng for a couple of laps now in these early stages. Still not quite able to get through in that M Sport Bentley as they now drop down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. Through the left-hander and out onto the Cooper Straight. A little bit out of shape there for Christopher Hasser in that Science-Lock Audi he shares with Mike Parisi as they come through clearways and out into Pilgrim's Drop again. And if anything, the 7 Bentley of Stephen Kane has dropped back a little bit as Malcolm Wilson watches on. They now head down Pilgrim's Drop. We're on board with Robin Freitz. Over the start line, down towards Paddock Hill Bend. The battle up in front is Max Buch trying to get past Laurens Van Thor. At the moment, a little bit of a twitch as he came through Paddock there for Van Thor. And this is the best seat in the house, really. In 10th place, Robin Freitz, all in the battle over 8th position. Can he find a way past that Mercedes in front?
I think on some racetracks, I would say, yes, brands, the nature of the circuit is such that with all these corners, they flow one into the other, and some of them are very quick corners. So your chances to get through or to get alongside to give you a chance. And because, again, the balance of performance now being so equal, everybody's got more or less the same straight line performance.
Yeah, Bas Linders was saying that the balance of performance, the BOP, is the best it's ever been at the moment, and he's been in this for some 6 years. That shows you just how steep the run down Paddock Hill Bend is. Fantastic stuff. And the 98 car of Jesse Krohn is, look at that forceful stuff from Michael Meadows, finding his way past Lucas Stoltz, and that is relevant because it's 22nd position, but it's also relevant because it's the lead of Silver Cup.
Well, apart from anything else, Michael Meadows knows this circuit probably better than he knows the palm of his hand. I mean, he's just raced here for I don't know how many times in how many GT cars. and that was a bit of circuit local knowledge, and of course a little bit of force as well.
Yep, 2 times Porsche Carrera Cup GB champion Michael Meadows, so certainly knows his way around. So this is Rosenqvist leading this long gaggle of cars that continues to make its way up towards Druids. Are we finally going to see the move from the 8 Bentley? No, not quite. Across comes Stefan Racina to cover the inside line. A little bit of a nudge as Souček tries to force his way through, but not quite able to do it just yet as they come down into Graham Hill. But oh, a bit of damage there on the rear of Stefan Racina's car.
Now that, I don't know whether that was bodywork or whether that was a bit of tire. More likely, he maybe had contact earlier in the event and that's just eventually flicked off, but it's certainly the tire and bodywork are in contact. Now, he needs to be careful because at this high speed, tire, the shape of the tire, the downforce, more and more rub, and it's, well, coming up into Hawthorne, you can see just how much body the rubber is, and I would not want to be close behind in the Bentley in the event that suddenly that tire might let go.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be a tricky time for Stefan Racina. Hopefully that Lamborghini can keep going, but he's got Andy Souček right up behind him, looking to go past every which way he possibly can.
I was thinking more about Andy Souček being directly. I wouldn't want to be directly behind.
Well, yeah.
If a tire went, because Souček's going to get it full on in the front of his Bentley.
I'd rather be the car behind than in the car when the tyre went, though, as they come down towards Clearways then. 42.5 minutes to go. Nose to tail once more. Souček pulls to the outside, but that's not really going to work out at Hawthorne. One of the quickest corners on the circuit.
Yeah,
Racina got it in.
Yeah, but he's going to try and do it. There's no way to pass on the outside line up into Hawthorne's. I think he had hoped that maybe the Lamborghini would run slightly further off to the left and maybe he could have made the undercut up into Westfield. But Racina had it sort of pretty well covered. He knew what he needed to do, and that took the momentum away from Souček. He'll be sitting in the car fuming because he knew that he's been sort of snookered on that particular move.
Pit stop window open. Marlon Stockinger, Dominic Baumann, all ready to get in their cars for the ISR and the Mercedes teams respectively. Is the 84 car coming in this time around? Yes, he is. As is the Acura ASP car of Rosenqvist to hand over to Vautier, as is one of the WRT Audis, as is, well, quite a few cars now, and the McLaren in 2, Alvaro Parent handing over to Rob Bell.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I hate to say it, but this is where this race can be won and lost, because time lost in the pits will be very difficult, and more importantly, it's track position lost on the circuit. So this is pressure for the teams, probably as much as they've ever had to deal with at any event they've been taking part in.
So it was 84 coming in from 9th place then. Dominic Baumann taking over from Maximilian Buch. There's the WRT Audi in the pits as well. That's the number 1 car of Laurens van Thor handing over to Vervies. And look at that, the 1 car coming out in front of the McLaren. So that McLaren was in 5th position. The number 1 car was in 8th. But now Vervies in front of Rob Bell.
Well, I mean, how many times have we seen it in the past? How many times do we keep repeating it? That the pit lane and WRT are so closely married together that there's no space for anybody else to beat them. And again, they've just done a great job. Now, interesting, Vincent Vos, we saw just on one of those shots a little bit earlier. He is back here at Brands Hatch. That adds another dynamic to those teams' pit works.
But there's our race leader, still yet to pit, Jules Simkowiak in that 86 HTP Mercedes, coming up towards the, and a slow-moving row racing car.
Yes.
Is that the Sims car? Alexander Sims had just taken over in 11th position from Philip Eng, and that car looks like it's slow and it's got a long way to go.
It's almost going back to the pits in limp home mode, which is a sort of a default situation on the onboard computers. If there's a problem, it just goes to that, and that's about the pace you'd expect to be limping back home, and it'll be an interminable drive back for Alexander Sim.
That's about as fast as I'm going to drive home this evening, probably, as he comes up towards Clearways. Now here's a good little battle brewing. Well, actually it's the 33 car of Christopher Mies that's lapping this Nissan, I think. Look how much straight line speed the Nissan has. Almost got back past Mies, but not a good day for the Nissan team.
No, they've had a bad weekend. Actually, the qualifying was really poor and aggressive blocking there. Now, that's not necessarily the smartest thing to be doing when you're being lapped, but possibly maybe wasn't even aware that the other rider was trying to sneak up the inside, gets through into Dinkeldale and then makes his way on towards Sterling's.
So when are we going to see the race leader Jules Simkowiak come into the pits? In comes the 98 car of Jesse Krohn. He's going to be handing over to Steph Dusseldorp, and into the pits comes one of the Attempto Racing Lamborghinis as well, as they filter in. And then make their way into the pit stops, but there's Jules Simkowiak still out there. But if there's one man you wouldn't mind handing over, that's a nice, safe pair of hands, Bernd Schneider.
Yes, I mean, Bernd is going to be just the perfect partner for Jules Simkowiak. But what was interesting, again, is just watching how easy it is. Oops, well, having said that, suddenly he's got to make avoiding action with the BMW creeping back.
That was Simkowiak, actually.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, you know, we've just seen a lovely, smooth drive from Jules Simkowiak, contrasting with some of his more erratic drives we saw in 2015.
Yeah, absolutely. So Simkowiak stays out there. Now here comes the Lamborghini out of the pit lane. As they all start to emerge, it'll all filter together pretty soon. And once the pit stop window closes, here's a look at Jules Simkowiak, pushing very, very hard indeed, coming through Stirling. So this is a different occasion as he mounts the curbs and then runs wide, and across the line they come. Into the pits now comes the second place car of Franck Pereira, handing over to Marlon Stockinger. Work being done on that ISR Audi. Now, how quick are the ISR team going to be in the pits? That's the question. They've been doing the Sprint Series for a couple of years now, so they should be good at it. But it's one of those, they haven't actually really been running this far up the order, so we kind of haven't really noticed if they've been any good or not, because we've never seen them fighting at the front of the order. Race leader in, Jules Simkowiak, handing over to Bernd Schneider. The 51-year-old German takes over from the 20-year-old Dutchman. And here is the 74 car, the car in second place, now in the hands of Marlon Stockinger. Schneider gets it away, fires it up. They're right at pit exit, so this is going to comfortably give them the lead again. I think they've lost a bit of time. It was about 8 seconds, the gap. It looks like it's sort of 5 or 6 now, but good work on board with Dries van Thor, trying to get past Nicolas Pola now. Into Paddock Hill Bend. Pola taken over that car from Mirko Bortolotti, then Dries van Thor, the car that was in the hand of Robin Freins, and behind them is Rob Bell, who was driving, which car was in the hands of Alvaro Parent as they come down into Graham Hill Bend. Not really hooking up the apex there, Nicolas Pola, the former European Formula 3 racer, and Baumann as well, flashing his lights. He wants to get past Rob Bell in front of him. This is all the battle over 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. As they hurtle now down Pilgrim's Drop. Keeping a watching brief on all of this is Tristan Vautier, who's a little bit further back in that pack at the moment. Now the battle for second place has tightened up a little bit, hasn't it? This is Marlon Stockinger. Oh, and this is getting a bit close, and that is going wide. A good opportunity for Dries van Thor to go through past Pola into 6th position. Trying to get past Didi Gonzalez, and it all kicked off, and that has promoted Dries van Thor. Right place, right time, opportunistic move. Through he goes. So very, very good stuff there. Here's a look at the replay, and Didi Gonzalez, well, he was sort of in the middle of the road and then basically closed the door. I'm not sure he knew Pola was there, and you feel a bit sorry for Nicolas Pola, you have to say. Rob Bell putting Pola under pressure as they come through Paddock Hill Bend. Again, Pola not quite managing to hook up the apex. Can Rob Bell find a way through? Pola runs wide, and that slows Bell down on the apex of Druids. As a result, Baumann is right up behind him as they come through, and a little bit of a wiggle there, and through has gone Dominic Baumann. He's got up the inside of Rob Bell and into that 7th position. Good move from Baumann up the inside of Bell at Graham Hill Bend. Battle's going on here as Maxime Soulet is doing battle with Mike Parisi in the side-to-lock Audi lower down the order. This is a good squabble. And here's a look at the replay of Baumann. Oh, there's a touch. There's a touch in the back there, just nerves Rob Bell a tiny bit to unsettle that McLaren, and Baumann goes through. Well, see what the stewards have to say about that one. Baumann now has closed right up to the back of Nicolas Pola, but frustration for Renault Dufour because he's just seen the message here on the timing screens. Drive-through penalty for Baumann for causing a collision. Well, Bernd Schneider has been absolutely bossing this one up at the front. We've still got this fight for third place, though. Enzo Eid is in the 33 WRT Audi. Behind him is the charging Clement Schmidt. In the HTP Motorsport Mercedes, that Nissan is a lap down. But can Schmidt find his way through? We are not quite on the final lap of the race. Out of the pits comes Baumann, having served his drive-through penalty. Way down in 18th place now. Through the final corner comes Bernd Schneider. This is his first full season of racing since retiring in 2008 from the DTM, and he is going to take victory in the qualifying race at Brands Hatch. Wonderful for him, wonderful for that man, Jules Simkowiak, his first Blancpain Sprint win. Absolute delight for them. Second place across the line is going to be Franck Pereira and Marlon Stockinger after starting the race from pole position. Not a bad effort at all, you have to say. Still one of the best results for ISR. And third, just across the line, Enzo Eid and Christopher Mies holding off Clement Schmidt and Jasmine Jafar. And real delight in the ISR team. They have worked so hard in GT racing, having made the switch from single-seaters a couple of years ago, and this by far their best result in Blancpain. The McLaren comes across the line ahead of Vautier and Rosenquist as they continue to stream through and take the checkered flag. But it's victory for Jules Simkowiak and Bernd Schneider. They'll start on pole position for the main race later on today. High fives all around, and they are now with John Watson.
First of all, congratulations to Jules and also to Bernd. And start with you, Jules. Brilliant start. Swooped around the Audi into Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, it was a nice start. We were accelerating quite early down to the last corner, but I had a good start. I could anticipate pretty well and get the lead and just control from there.
So you just drove away from the field. It looked like it was a Sunday morning drive.
It was. I tried to approach it like this to stay calm, really.
Well, you've learned a lot this year, I think. Well done. Bernd, you got a car. All you had to do was just bring it back home. I mean, again, for you, so easy.
It was not that. It looks easy, but Brands Hatch is really special with all the bumps. You have to be concentrated, even if you have a good lead, a big lead. And I should keep pushing because I was interested to see how the tire works later on in the main race. How can I attack the car?
So you'll be starting the main race in pole position. He had a brilliant start. Jules, a brilliant start. Can you do any better than that?
No, he was absolutely impressive. And we were talking before about the start situation, and he had this already in his mind. And I said, please don't risk too much. But he made it excellent.
I think you're a great teacher. Well done. Congratulations, both of you.
Thank you very much.
So here's a look at the results after the first 1 hour race of the day. Mercedes-AMG GT3 HT Motorsport taking the victory. The 86 car of Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak winning. Marlon Stockinger and Franck Pereira 21 seconds back down the road. And if you add 21 seconds to Stockinger and Pereira's race time, you end up down in 10th place. That's the kind of advantage that Schneider and Simkowiak had in the end. Marlon Stockinger and Franck Pereira finishing in second position. Enzo Eid and Christopher Mies completing the podium. Clement Schmidt and Jasmine Jafar in fourth. Vervish and Van Thor, good recovery drive from them from 9th up to 5th, but that's still not the kind of positions they want to be finishing in. Nicolas Pola and Mirko Bortolotti doing a good job to finish in 7th place at the end of that race. Further down, you've got the results of the drive-through penalty for the HTP car 84. 18th place for Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch. That is frustrating for them, there's no doubt about that. And yeah, well, don't really know what to say about that. Real tough luck for them. 15th is the Silver Cup winners, Stuart Leonard and Michael Meadows, putting their home knowledge to good use. Maximum Splinter and Jeroen Molt completing the top 24. The top step of the podium for Simkowiak and Schneider. They'll be on pole. The main race is about to get underway here at Brands Hatch after the exciting qualifying race earlier on. The victory taken by Jules Simkowiak and Bernd Schneider, and as a result, they're going to be starting on pole position this afternoon. And I mean, what a day. What a day it is here in the Kent countryside in the United Kingdom. One of the classic old school race circuits. 27.6 degrees the air temperature, track temperature 37.4 degrees. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. My name is Jack Nichols. At the moment down on the grid is John Watson, but he will be joining me up here later on if he can manage all the stairs. But it is pretty high up here and that's pretty much our view we have. And when the racing isn't on, it's time to catch some rays on what is a fantastic May weekend. This is a look at the 3.9-kilometre Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, the full circuit in use, 9 corners, only 2 left-handers, but nowhere near as simple as that makes it sound. One of the most challenging tracks on the calendar, I think it's fair to say, and all the drivers love coming here. Of that, there can be no doubt, and this is a fantastic place to have a race. This is the Sprint Cup standings at the moment after only 1 round in Misano. Vanthor and Vavish are at the top of it. Philip Eng and Alexander Sims are second. Baumann and Buch are in 3rd position. Neither of those guys scoring any... Oh no, Vanthor and Vavish did score a couple of points with their qualifying race result. Simkowiak and Schneider up to 4th thanks to their win in the qualifying race. You only get 8 points though for winning the qualifying race, whereas it's 25 up for grabs for the main race, which is coming up momentarily. There you can see Daniel Zampieri and Patrick Niederhauser only have 1 point so far. They'll be hoping to add to that today, but it's going to be a tough ask for them because they are down on the 13th row of the grid. As far as the overall Blancpain GT Series points are concerned though, which includes the Sprint Cup and the Endurance Cup, Max Buch and Dominic Baumann are leading that by 2 points, but Vanthor and Vavish mean that there's now only 5 points separating the top 3 cars in that battle. Com Ledegaard and Shane van Gisbergen are in 4th and 5th respectively. And then we've got Schneider and Simkowiak after their win have launched themselves up to 10th place in the overall Blancpain GT Series Championship. And Andrea Rizzoli and Alessandro Bonaccini completing the top 16. Further down, you've got the likes of Enzo Ede and Will Stevens, who aren't here racing this weekend, but they will be back for the remainder of the year. So the grid starting to be formed, the cars making their way from the pit lane. Pit lane is still open, in fact, so they can go through and do some installation laps if they wish. But we have got some cars forming up on the grid, and what a treat these guys have been seeing over the course of the day. So let's go down here from Laurens Vanthor, 5th on the grid. He's talking to John Watson.
Laurens, we're accustomed to seeing you in the front row of the grid pole position, but is this the toughest grid you've ever seen in GT3?
Yeah, it is. And the result of that is us not being 100% performant like we want to. And instead of being maybe in the past on P4, P5, we were P9 in qualifying. So yeah, we're still trying to improve. Qualifying race was a bit better, but not how we wanted. So we got up there. Our aim is a podium, but let's see.
You've always got an aim of a podium. Nobody you're talking about, Laurens. But the thing was interesting was that you started 9th in the sprint race, you finished 5th. I mean, how much of that was just you and your co-driver on track as opposed to great pit work from the guys?
I think we gained 1 position on track, and then we were better than the guys in front of us or my stint, but this track is amazing, but it's a bit difficult to overtake. That's the only problem. And then yeah, our crew made the difference in the pit stop, and Fred in the outlap, that made us gain the most positions. And I'm happy we can always count on them because it's the safest way to do so.
Well, what do you expect Frederick to try and do? I mean, obviously on the 3rd row of the grid you can't make a dash for the lead into Paddock Hill, but you're still well enough placed to be ahead of the main field.
Yeah, the thing is, this year we want to win a championship. If we don't win any race and we win a championship, we're happy, and that's our goal. Now, like I said, we didn't have 100% the pace we wanted. We made quite a radical change. Normally we don't do that, but we were...
You've made a radical change since the sprint race?
Yeah, since the qualifying race, yeah. So we hope it works out, and again, our aim is to get in the points, get a podium. We're happy with that, but obviously, yeah, you never know what happens. So we'll see.
Okay, have a good one. Thank you.
So Laurens Vanthor having a very good qualifying race, gaining up a number of positions, but not quite managing to make it all work out in the end, and still not happy with the car. And well, to make quite a radical change is quite a big step. We did hear from Christopher Mies saying he had made quite a radical change, and he was the WRT car that had some pace. So whether they've just copied Christopher Mies' setup, potentially, we'll have to wait and see as the race progresses. So now let's hear from Mirko Bortolotti, the Italian driver, and he is going to be starting in 7th place on the grid.
Mirko, you started 7th in the sprint race, you're starting 7th in the main race. Is that good or bad?
Well, it can be worse, it could be better for sure. We had a good first race, to be honest. We had a good pace throughout the weekend, everything worked fine. I had an ultimate lap in qualifying, which I'm really happy about, but wasn't enough to be in the first 2 rows, unfortunately, because it's very, very close, and obviously we are happy with the position we have, and we look forward to the race. The problem here is overtaking is quite hard.
Okay. Now, we know that it's such a competitive field here, and some of the other cars ahead of you, maybe some behind you, have actually made apparently quite radical changes. Have you made any changes to your car?
Compared to the race, you mean?
Compared to the race this morning?
Well, sure. We also struggled with some balance issues this morning that we didn't have in yesterday on the whole day. So we tried to adjust something on the car for the second race. Hopefully it works out. Nicky's in the car. He showed in Misano that he's really, really good at the start. He did a very good start there as well. It's his second start in a GT car. And I'm sure he can do well, and then we will try to attack as much as we can with me in the second part of the race.
Sure you will. Many thanks, Mirko.
Thank you.
So Mirko Bortolotti starting then in 7th spot, and it's going to be an entertaining race coming up for him, a man who has some experience here over the last couple of years, and including the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Got a podium finish here, did Mirko Bortolotti, back in 2011. So he's going to be starting in 7th place on the grid. The highest placed car of the Lamborghinis. Pole position for Bernd Schneider, alongside him Marlon Stockinger on the front row. It's the cars that finished, the drivers that finished, sorry, that will be starting the main race later on. Now let's hear from Vincent Vos, the team manager of the Belgian Audi WRT squad. He's talking to John.
Vincent, we missed you yesterday. What were you doing?
Well, I had some work to do in Spa. You know, I live in Spa. No, well, we were there for some other races for the TCR International with 3 Golf.
But you weren't doing your normal role. You were doing a commentary.
Yeah, also, yeah. I had some nice time commentating the race of the week.
Now, what influence have you brought to your team here since you arrived this morning?
Nothing special, you know. They do everything. They do everything on their own.
I don't think that's the case, but anyway, look, it's a very, very competitive grid. I can't remember a grid so tight as we've seen here to this weekend.
I think this is one of the best championship that you can find. When you see the top 10 in 3 tenths, it's just incredible. The level of the championship just went very high.
Well, thank you very much.
And happy birthday, John.
Pardon? Sorry?
Happy birthday. I think it's your birthday today.
Well,
your 55th birthday.
Something like that. It was a little bit earlier in the week. This is for me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you. Excellent.
Watty was 70 back on Wednesday, so he's got a card and a car from SRO and the Blancpain GT Series, signed by all the drivers and the TV crew, and so yeah, many happy returns to John Watson, and thank you for his years of service with SRO, going back sort of, well, 6 or 7 years now, I suppose, back into the FIA GT1 World Championship days. So 10 minutes to the start of the formation lap here in the Blancpain GT Series. The Sprint Cup about to get underway, and it is absolutely sweltering here. The sun beating down on the start-finish straight. It's a fantastic view out of the commentary box window. In fact, that was pretty much it. And it's also 10 years of GT3, 2006 to 2016, and Stefan Rattel, the man who invented the GT3 category, essentially. And 10 years ago this weekend at Silverstone, there was the first round of the FIA GT3 European Championship. And look where GT3 has taken us now. 37 cars on the grid ahead of a 1-hour race around Brands Hatch. At the back of that grid, Alexander Sims and Philip Eng in the BMW M6. What a tough ask they've got, coming through from 37th on the grid. It's going to be a real challenge for them, and that shows you just the kind of caliber that we're going to be dealing with in this race. Pole position then, Bernd Schneider. What a performance he is going to have. And we can now hear from Stefan Rattel on 10 years of GT3. He's talking to Dakota Jane.
10 years of GT3 racing, unbelievable. We are having a great weekend here down at Brands Hatch.
Yes, time flies. It was exactly 10 years ago. It was at Silverstone in the UK. I don't remember if the weather was as nice, but we had already a very good grid. We had 42 cars on the grid for the very first one, so we can say that GT3 was a success right out of the box, and it's developed tremendously, spread over the world, so many championships and series, and I'm still very proud to be running the best of them all. So I think we're looking forward to a great race.
And we'll be back to Silverstone next week.
Yes, yes. Sprint here and Silverstone in a week. So welcome to Silverstone in just 6 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stefan Rattel, a very happy man, as you might be with 37 cars on your grid, when a lot less would be absolutely fine. We had a fantastic race earlier with 19 GT3 cars in the Blancpain GT Sports Club event, so 37 is absolutely huge. So it's going to be an entertaining 1 hour race that we've got coming up, and here's a look at the front of the grid. We've got Bernd Schneider here on the left-hand side. Alongside him on the front row is going to be Marlon Stockinger, who is starting that 74 ISR Audi, and what a performance they had earlier on. The ISR team absolutely over the moon to get that second place result, and the Czech squad are going to be hoping they can maybe go one better here today, but with Bernd Schneider starting on pole position, it's going to be a big ask for them. And there is Schneider sat in the car getting ready to take to the start of this 1 hour race. As the grid is being cleared, it's a very busy grid down there as they try their best to clear everybody away. Second row of the grid will be Enzo Eid alongside Clement Schmidt. Expect their battle to continue that had gone on for most of the last part of the race. There you can see Enzo Eid just getting suited and booted and ready for the action to get underway. We've still got sort of 4 minutes to go before the formation lap gets underway. Enzo Eid did a very good job actually in that race this morning to hold on to that third position, and if he can hold on to that kind of pace at the start of this race, then he and Christopher Mies are going to be in good stead. A good crowd here at Brands Hatch. They've been treated to all sorts, not only the Blancpain series but also the GT Sports Club and also the Ultra Car demonstrations that we've had. McLaren P1s hurtling around, Vulcans, even the electric car, the Rimac, making its way around this Brands Hatch circuit. At the moment though, all you can hear are the birds in the trees, but that will be interrupted before too long by the thunder and the roar of V6s, V8s and V10s, some turbocharged, some normally aspirated, a real plethora of power units, if you will, in these GT3 cars that are about to get going for this main race that could be crucial for the championship. We've only got, there's 10 rounds in the Blancpain GT series. Next up after this, it is Silverstone in just 1 week's time in the Endurance Series, and that is going to be fascinating and entertaining as well. Now we can hear from Jonathan Palmer. This is Jonathan Palmer's circuit. The former F1 driver is talking to Dakota Jane.
Jonathan, we're having a beautiful weekend here down at Brands Hatch.
Well, the weather is fantastic here, isn't it? And this Grand Prix circuit is really magnificent in any weather. But with the sunshine here, we've got a huge crowd, but really all because of this magnificent grid of Blancpain GT3 cars. It's absolutely fantastic. Stefan Rattel, an SRO, does such a great job, really understanding what people want in terms of whether it's drivers or teams out of this, and the results are here.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan Palmer then, the Chief Executive of Motorsport Vision that run Brands Hatch and Cadwell Park and Snetterton and Bedford Autodrome. And a man who has seen some good racing over the years. So let's have a look then as we segue our way down the grid. On pole position is going to be Bernd Schneider in that HTP Mercedes. Alongside him on the front row is going to be Marlon Stockinger in the 74 ISR Audi. And the second row of the grid, Enzo Ede on the left-hand side with Clement Schmidt alongside him. Then on row 4, we have got the first of the Belgian Audi club. No, because we've got Ede up there in third place, but then these two are the cars that have been struggling. Vervish and Dries Van Thor are going to be the drivers starting those. Nicolas Pola and Rob Bell then on the next row of the grid. Felix Rosenquist and Maxime Soulé are next up in the Achareas P car and the Bentley respectively. Mike Parisi had a really good race earlier on to finish in 11th place. They didn't start that high up after qualifying, but Parisi and Christopher Hasser really battled their way through. Alongside them, the number 7 Bentley that finished in 12th place, which was respectable, but Soulé and Soucek actually had a really good race and climbed up through the field. The 333 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari will start the race in 14th place. Marco Seefried at the wheel. Stuart Leonard will be starting that WRT Silver Cup pole position car down in 15th place. And the grid just keeps going and going. We've got Nikolai Moller-Madsen there on the left-hand side, starting in 19th position. That's the second car at the moment in the Silver Cup. Good race from Mitsunori Takaboshi and Alex Buncombe to finish in 21st position, having started an awful long way down the order compared to that. And that'll give them, I suppose, some hope going into this race, John, that the Nissans have got something back.
I mean, fundamentally, the Nissan has got good performance. We know it's capable of running at the front of a grid, but for some reason, and the team aren't clear as to what that reason is, they've just not been able to lock into that performance window. And it's been sad to see these two Nissans running outside the top 10, outside the top 20, outside the top 30. That wasn't qualifying. Something most unexpected.
And a big job for Alexander Sims from 37th. When you start something like that in a 1-hour race, what can you do? Can you have any expectations?
Well, I mean, it's not Long Beach 83, that's for sure. So, I mean, the cars are so evenly matched. The reliability is so good. Really, where most positions are going to be made up, I think Lawrence Van Thor alluded to in the interview on the grid, is going to be by really good, quick teamwork. And if you can come in at the right moment and get your team to get your car serviced, turned around and sent back out again, you're going to possibly make up a couple of places, maybe a bit more, if the team is really doing a good job. It is so difficult with the equality of performance of all these cars from the front to the back. Even a car that's being lapped, you need the cooperation of the lap driver to help you get through cleanly. It's so competitive. I mean, unbelievable.
Long Beach 83, just in case you're unaware, is the record for the lowest started, highest finishing Grand Prix. Someone started in 22nd and won. Here's a look at the grid. Bernd Schneider on pole position. Marlon Stockinger alongside him on the front row. Mercedes versus Audi in the top 2 rows as Enzo Ede and Clement Schmidt do battle on row number 2. Then it's Frederic Vervish and Laurence Van Thor as Dries Van Thor, as they try and charge up the order. And then we've got Pola and Bell in 7th and 8th positions. 9th and 10th, Felix Rosenquist and Maxime Soulé, the number 8 Bentley Continental, doing a really good job for the M Sport team in race 1. Then Parisi and Abril in 11th and 12th positions. A Frenchman and a Monegasque alongside one another. Nicky Mermanov will start 13th. The first Ferrari will start in 14th with Marco Seefried. Stuart Leonard starts on pole in the Silver Cup alongside your own Bleekemolen in the 16 Lamborghini. Then we've got Frank Stippler and Dominic Baumann. A drive-through penalty for them means they're going to start down in 18th position. Moller-Madsen and Baptista are 19th and 20th on the grid. Then it's Takaboshi and Steph Dusseldorp on the next row. The 20 in 23rd place, you've got Michele Beretta. They had to change a clutch in 2 hours in between the 2 races, and they have managed to make it out onto the grid. Great work from the Grasser team. Then we've got Monti and Valsecki in 27th and 28th positions. Then we have Bobalik and Broniszewski completing the top 30. Just a couple more rows to go. Sanchez and Plowman as we get in towards the cars that had trouble earlier on. And, well, what a big grid.
Yeah, I think one of the things going to be interesting is the pole position is the Mercedes, which won the race on the right-hand side of the track. For the sprint race, it was the Audi of Stockinger and Perret who were on the inside. The outside line might be the quicker. Can Audi do to Mercedes what they had the reverse of some 4 hours ago?
The 1 hour main race here at Brands Hatch. 25 points up for grabs. Bernd Schneider on pole, Marlon Stockinger alongside him, Eden Schmidt on row 2. There's the green light. Who's going to get a good start? For Polar flying through in the middle. It's pretty messy in the middle of the pack, but Bernd Schneider has got away. Up into second place has got Enzo Ede. Really good start. There's contact there. Stockinger almost sent spinning, but everyone is safely through. Paddock Hill Bend somehow got very busy up in there. Really good start though from Enzo Ede. A very good start from the 8 Bentley as well. That's really got itself into the mix. Is everyone going to get safely through? Schmidt is forced out onto the grass, but keeps it pointing the right way as they hurtle down into Graham Hill Bend. What a fantastic sight. We're on board with Dries van Thor, and what a start that is. Up the inside there is coming Rob Bell. Bell's going to hit the Lamborghini. No, not quite.
Two passes into Sterling. A great effort by Rob Bell. He looked very racy coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. He's continuing to do so on the grass.
Dominic Baumann on the grass as they come down through Pilgrim's Drop. But it is Bernd Schneider who has held the lead. Really good start from Enzo Ede to get up into second position. Really good start as well from Maxime Soule, who has climbed up the order. But everybody safely through the first half a lap. It's getting side by side, very busy into Westfield. Everybody makes it down and through, and it's very, very close as well behind Marlon Stockinger. He is causing a bit of a stop in the pipes at the moment. Everyone else trying to fight their way around, but it's Schneider who's got away at the front.
Yeah, but Maxime Soule clearly has had a great start to get that car up into fourth position or fifth position, and looking to give a lot of grief to the Mercedes ahead coming into clearways. I mean, just end of the first lap, barely gaps between any of these cars. Then the Mercedes comes across with 3/4 of a second advantage over Enzo Ede.
Third then is Stockinger, fourth Vervish, fifth is Schmidt, sixth now is Maxime Soule, and he's now going to try and attack Clem Schmidt coming up towards the hairpin at Druids. Not quite able to get done, but as you say, up to sixth place. A really good start from Soule. He needs to be careful because he's got the McLaren of Rob Bell right behind him. Nicholas Pola got a good start, then got shuffled back. Mike Parisi's up into ninth place. It's 10th place now for Dries van Thor, and the number 1 car of Frederick Vervish, meanwhile, didn't really clock this, but he's gone from 5th up into 4th position, so he has made a position up. Schneider leads though, Ede in 2nd position. Through Surtees and then down towards Pilgrim's Drop. What a sight as they all hurtle through, and round the outside goes Soule. Great move to get past. He's up into 5th position now around the outside at Hawthorne Bend.
I mean, that is the first time I've seen anybody do that in, well, I can't remember when, but that was committed. It always looked like Maxime Soule was about to do something dramatic. He's executed the pass of the weekend, in my opinion, so far.
Now Mike Parisi is the next man to try and get past, although he's now under pressure from Dries van Thor behind as they fling through Sterlings and down towards Clearways for the second time. And it's Bernd Schneider who continues to lead. Him and Enzo Ede breaking clear just a little bit up at the front. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Stockinger. A bit of a gap back subsequently to Vervish. And then Soucek, Schmidt, Bell right together. Is Bell close enough for a look at Clem Schmidt? He's managed to force him wide at Paddock Hill Bend. Is that going to give him the run up the hill into Druids? No, not quite close enough for Rob Bell this time around. Clement Schmidt holding on to that 6th spot.
Yeah, and having given it up to the Bentley, he wasn't about to give it up to Rob Bell and the McLaren, so he just put the car on the bit of racetrack that Rob Bell had his sights set on, put a deposit on it, but he had to get it taken back.
But now here's the look up the inside as the charge continues, and that's going to be a very, very tight one. What a lot of drive. This is from Maxime Soule, past Frederick Vervish into the left-hander, and Andy Soucek can't believe what he's seeing.
No, I know, but what a car is hooked up as Maxime Soule and the Bentley are. He has passed 2 cars, 2 great passes. Into Surtees is going to be the second best pass of the weekend.
You can't overtake it, Brands Hatch.
So they told me on the grid. They said, no, we can't pass, we can't do anything. But when you've got a car that's working, and right now that Bentley is probably working better than any other car on the racetrack, he's able to pass 2 cars. The outside round Hawthorne's, that was courageous. The one up into Surtees, one of my favourite spots at Brands Hatch, and if you can get it done, it's a very happy one.
Problem for Frederick Vervish and the number 1 WRT Audi, and they've hit with the 7 car, and so the Audi is slowing on the racing line, and everybody is spreading which way cars off, and that is one of the WRT cars. I think it is the number 1 car of Vervish trying to get out of the way of everybody else. He has picked up a problem, can't make out what it is. Yes, right rear. So Vervish wrestles his car back to the pit lane. Disaster for he and Laurens van Thor, who are leading the Sprint Cup Championship. They're going to be right at the back of the field now.
And it's thrown a real opportunity for everybody, because when they get up against Vervish coming out of Sterling's, there was a mass traffic jam, and somebody who was in the right place had advantage and others would have been disadvantaged.
Look at that Lamborghini trying to get through on the inside, down into the left-hander. What a great move that is from the 19 car. And at the wheel of that at the moment is Michele Beretta. He has made up a position to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. So Schneider leads, Eid second, Stockinger third, Soule fourth, Schmidt fifth, Bell sixth, Polar in seventh, Mike Parisi eighth, ninth for Dries van Thor, 10th for Felix Rosenquist. Side by side, down Pilgrim's Drop. Three wide coming into Hawthorne Bend. This is unbelievable. The
Smoke
Nissan up the inside.
Smoke from the Lamborghini is gone. Or rather,
It's the Ferrari.
The 333 Ferrari. Suddenly a lot of smoke came from the back of it, coming into Hawthorne, and more drama. We didn't have much drama in the sprint race. We've had nothing but drama, but we're on the 4th lap.
I don't know what to say. Takaboshi went past 2 cars down Pilgrim's Drop and into Hawthorne Bend up the inside. Wonderful stuff from Takaboshi. He got past the 3 car and the 2 car. Real bumping and boring in the pack as they explode out into the sunlight of the Indy circuit and then round the final corner, just trying to pick out what on earth's going on. So Takaboshi into the pits comes another Audi. Takaboshi now.
And 2 cars coming in.
Takaboshi across the line, and he has got himself up to 16th position in that Nissan that qualified about 32nd.
Well, we've seen, we don't know the reasons why, but something that's clearly been changed between sprint race, the main race, and that is benefiting the 23 Nissan. I mean, I can't believe the performance we're seeing from it. Even the 22 Nissan up to 27th, the sister car.
Here comes Soule. He wants another overtake. Coming down Pilgrim's Drop. He's up behind Marlon Stockinger in the battle over 3rd place. Looks to the outside. He's not going to be alongside enough, I don't think, to do the outside at Hawthorne manoeuvre again. But Soule is absolutely on a charge as they come down towards Westfield Bend. Phenomenal performance from him so far. Oh, 2 cars off, and that is a Rowe Racing BMW and Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Which one 98. Is it? It's the 98 car, so that is in the hands of Steph Dusseldorp. But we're back now, coming into Stirling Bend for this battle over 3rd position.
The Bentley has just got performance above and beyond any of the other cars that he's been behind or that are currently ahead of him. And it's just a matter of waiting to see where he can get the best run. Off coming out of clearways, not close enough to have a look up into Paddock Hill Bend, but he will try to use Paddock Hill Bend to set him up for a move up into Druids. He needs to be closer going into Paddock Hill Bend. A little bit wide from, and there's more damage to the front of that Audi.
Moller-Madsen has been involved in a collision out there. That was with the Rowe BMW that we saw them returning to the track together, so they've been off into the scenery. Now Marlon Stockinger knows he's got to get quick because he set the fastest final sector of anyone. Look how late on the brakes Soule is as they come into Graham Hill Bend, but Stockinger gets a decent exit.
Yeah, but Soule overran the corner, he got compromised. He would like to have had a look up the inside into Stirling, so he did a couple or 3 laps before, but by being too close and too far out to the right in Graham Hill Bend, that was the result.
Okay, 8 minutes gone. Just going to breathe a little bit. Bernd Schneider leads this race for the HDP team, car 86. Then it's Enzo Eid in second for the WRT Audi squad. This is the 3rd place battle. Stockinger for ISR versus Soule for M Sports, as he goes a little bit wide there. Now we've got the 2 Attempto racing cars going side by side. This is Valsecki and Van Splunteren doing battle. Davide Valsecki ahead in the 77 car, the former GP2 champion from 2012. Max Van Splunteren, the young Dutchman, right up behind him as he tries to make his way up through the order. Then behind them it's Perezzini, and then following them is Ricardo Sanchez in the Nissan.
And certainly Valsecchi's having to be very, very single-seater minded, and he was defending. Look, again, the Bentley gets the run coming up into Paddock Hill Bend. Again, he's got to try and make the undercut, but it's too wide in the exit, too early, too wide for the Bentley. So again, the run, the speed he might have gained was lost on that exit.
Now, incident between car 1 and car 8 is under investigation.
Well, so that's Maxime Soule.
Yeah, and no, sorry, car 7. My apologies. So that's at turn 8. So that's Vincent Abril and Frederic Verviche at Stirling's Bend. So perhaps that's what caused Verviche. Well, you would have thought to slow, but he was slow already by the time they got to Stirling. So we'll see what the stewards decide on that one.
I think it may have happened something coming up into what we call Dingledale. Actually, Dingledale corner is now called Sheen Curve, but I think Dingledale sort of rings with me. Anyway, Maxime Soule still pushing, but in fact, Marlon Stockinger has done a good job in defending that position, and he's not been able to. Well, he's been able to prevent, I say, Maxime Soule from using the basic performance advantages the Bentley has to put it ahead.
50 minutes to go. The start incident for, or the starting procedure for Nicholas Pola is under investigation, and I said that he got a good start. Maybe it was a little bit too good, and the stewards are looking into that, but Pola now is under pressure from Mike Parisi. This is Pola in that green Lamborghini, but he's got Parisi breathing right down his neck as they come down towards turn one. This is the battle over 7th position, but that Lamborghini just holding on at the end of the straight and can't really do anything about it. Behind Parisi is Felix Rosenqvist.
Yeah, and Felix Rosenqvist is one of those youngsters who's come into Blancpain GT3, both sprint and endurance, who I think has got a massive future. He's had a great career in single-seaters, and he's adapted extremely well to the AMG GT3 Mercedes.
There's the third place battle. Stockinger ahead of Soule. What a race and a drive this has been for Maxime Soule so far as they come down Pilgrim's Drop and up into the right-hander of Hawthorne Bend.
There is traffic about 2 or 3 seconds up the road. That isn't the lead car, that's one of the Audis. That might be the number one Audi that's already...
I think it's Enzo Eid in second place at the moment.
Maybe.
So there's Eid.
Okay, then it is.
And then there's the
there it is, the third
Stockinger
place.
battle.
So Eid's dropped back from that lead, and he's only 1.7 seconds ahead of Stockinger. Again, look at Soule, so aggressive in really, really using the strength of the Bentley to maximum effect everywhere he can to try and distract Stockinger, to make sure that he's keeping him unsettled as the Bentley just threatens every part of the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on board with Maxime Soule as he comes out over the line once again. Raced in 2 times Belcar champion Maxime Soule, but is showing really good speed here today in the Blancpain GT Series as they come into Druids. So here's a look at the start. Watch out for the green Lamborghini. Well, I mean, everyone kind of darted everywhere straight away.
Messy start, really. The Lamborghini is there, but it was on the inside in paddock that gave it the real track position, and then on the ability to get up on the inside and stay on the inside.
So Vavish is slow already.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the collision there between Vavish and the 7 car.
And the 7 car of Brill. So the damage had been done to the Audi, and really it was more Brill trying to take avoiding action. Then again, you can see the Ferrari coming up. That looks like it was a terminal failure for the Ferrari, and that's the first time they've been running the Rinaldi 4.
This is the 3 wide. This is the 3 wide Nissan. The 2 WRTs are on the left-hand side there, and Takaboshi goes.
There's the
Thank
Ferrari.
you very much. Yeah, and goes through. Whoa, there they go. So that's
that was down at the bottom of Graham Hill Bend.
Goodness me, this little highlights package is very long, isn't it? As we go 3 wide there, the 75 ISR car getting involved as they went 3 wide and burst out back into the sunshine. Nice little highlights reel.
Thank goodness that's over. We can once again sort of draw breath. That's Ben Schneider comes across the line for the 9th time. And waiting to see how big the gap has grown. It's now just 4 seconds on Enzo Eid, who's really being able to drive a relatively clear air himself. He has got this battle going on for 3rd place behind him, but in a sense that battle is self-absorbed, and Eid is able just to concentrate on trying to keep as close to the lead Mercedes as he can.
Clement Schmidt is running in 5th place. Then it's Rob Bell in 6th position for the Garage 59 McLaren team. Nicholas Pola still running in 7th place, but still, I think essentially holding up everybody else, because we've got Mike Parisi right behind him, Rosenqvist right behind him, and then Dries van Thor right behind him, and the number 1 WRT Audi down in 28th position. There's not going to be any points today, I don't think, for Frederic Vavish and Lawrence van Thor from there.
No, not at all. I mean, other than some extraordinary set of circumstances, but one can see those unfolding. So, I mean, what a disappointing main race this has turned out to be for the number 1, the people that are the drivers that were leading the championship coming into the start of this main race.
Through Westfield Bend. What a treat those fans have seen so far today. Great to see so many of you on social media enjoying the opening laps of this one as well. Thank you very much for being with us. There's Dries van Thor in car number 4, the youngest driver in the field, 17 years old, and he is trying to put Felix Rosenqvist under some pressure in that 88 Acura ASP Mercedes, and they're all queued up behind Nicholas Pola. Oh, but Nicholas Pola has been given a drive-through penalty because his wheels, and he's run very wide there coming down through Paddock Hill Bend. Is that going to be an opportunity for Mike Parisi?
It's irrelevant.
It is, but Parisi may not know that the drive-through penalty has arrived yet. He didn't have his wheels down at the 3-minute board.
Yeah.
So the...
I mean, in that circumstance, that will be put up on the screens. Everybody will be aware of that. The team will be needing to tell Mike Parisi at the earliest opportunity that while he needs to stay ahead of Rosenqvist, looks to go up the inside into Surtees and didn't get quite close enough to make the pass. So Mike Parisi may well be made aware of the fate of the Lamborghini ahead, but he is certainly more than aware of the pace from the young Swedish driver Felix Rosenqvist.
So Pola in this 7th place. When he serves his drive-through penalty, he will be, well, Mike Parisi behind will be released, because at the moment these guys are 4.5 seconds behind the gang in front, as we see the 7 Bentley in the hands of Vincent Abril running in 11th place at the moment. Bit of damage to that car after, you can see it on the front left there, after the contact with Frederick Vavish, who was slowing as he swings at this point in the track. In fact, as he swings through Sterling's. We've only got 9 minutes till the pit window opens. This is the battle for 3rd place that's continuing, but again, isn't quite coming together. Soule still 0.3 of a second down. A little bit of a relaxation for Andy Soucek.
Well, Andy Soucek was, the look at his face in the opening laps when Maxime Soule was literally carving his way through the field. So he knows what he's got to do when he gets into the car. Of course, there will be that pit stop, and it will be in the hands of the Bentley, the M Sport team, to make sure they turn the Bentley around and try and get the best advantage, try and get back out, use the pit stop to get ahead of the number 74 Audi, currently 3rd place.
Down towards Pilgrim's drop again. These two starting to drop. Clement Schmidt a little bit, and the 26-year-old Austrian doing a good job though in that 5th position, especially when you compare to where this car is at the moment. Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch's 84 HTP Mercedes, the car that you would have said would be the strongest out of the 3 HTP cars, currently down at the back, and that man's got a lot of work to do, Maxi Buch.
Yes, it's sort of out of position down in 12th place, and I mean, he's going to be thinking about who's ahead of me and who's going to be in those cars when I get back in. So again, Mike Parisi. But I mean, Takaboshi in the Nissan is the one that really is becoming a focal point, because he's driven a really outstanding stint with the number 2, and that's
it's Michael Meadows.
Yeah,
Stuart Leonard, sorry.
Down 17th, just 1 place behind Takaboshi. So, don't know why the onboard cameras are so. There's the dust that came off when we had that melee going into Sterling.
So what's going on here? This is Mike Parisi. So Parisi is ahead of Rosenqvist, and now Vincent Abril is starting to join this fight. I think now, yes, Pola has served his drive-through penalty, so that has released this gang. There is Pola exiting the pits, and he's going to come out well down the order, but this has released these guys now out of that traffic jam. So it'll be interesting to see their pace.
So it's going to be whether can the Mercedes and Dries Van Thor behind do anything to put pressure onto Mike Parisi. And we've got just 5.5 minutes before the pit window will be open. In the meantime, the gap at the front is up to 5.4 seconds, and 2nd to 3rd, it's just around about a second, but 3rd to 4th, under half a second.
So there is our race leader, Bernd Schneider, coming through the left-hander of Sterling's and down towards the final corner on the circuit at Clearways, then through Clark Curve. This is a replay of, he did run a little bit wide there. I thought we saw some grass being kicked up, but
I don't know whether maybe he had to run slightly wide earlier to get past the Ferrari, and then may have picked up a little bit of ground. Side by side.
Here comes
it is.
Soule up the inside in the battle for 3rd place. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he is. Maxime Soule continues his charge and is up into 3rd position now for the M Sport Bentley team. This is one of the best drives I've seen from Maxime Soule. Very good driver, but this is impressive.
Now, this is inspired. I mean, that was a pass. Once again, you've got to go back to Clearways, because that's where we would have started the overtake by just being quicker out of the corner, and then most importantly to get along side by side before you get into the braking into paddock. Absolutely textbook overtake.
So Bernd Schneider leads for the HTP Mercedes team. 2nd is Enzo Ede in the WRT Audi. 3rd now is that man, Maxime Soule, in the M Sport Bentley. 4th position is Marlon Stockinger for ISR. 5th, Clement Schmidt. 6th, Rob Bell, 7th Mike Parisi, 8th Felix Rosenqvist, 9th Dries van Thor, 10th Vincent Abril in the number 7 Bentley. Oh, there's the blue flag was for. It was for Claudio Stanisic, who was hugging the inside line out there and moving a little bit slowly. Keep an eye out on that one, whether he's run into troubles or just getting out of the way of the cars that are coming around to put a lap on him. Less than 40 minutes to go, so only 5 minutes before he's going to be getting in the car and heading out onto the track. Jules Simkowiak.
The thing I'm going to keep an eye on is now that Maxime Soule has got into 3rd place. The gap when they came across the line, and the last lap, 1.6 seconds between Soule and 3rd to 2nd. There's the pass again. What a beautiful move by Maxime Soule. No difference in straight line performance of the two cars, but Soule got the position where it counted, and so that's how you make clean, easy passes. The gap now between 4th, 3rd and 2nd as they wait to come across the line. That's going to be the next thing. Is Enzo Eid going to be able to hold on to that 2nd place before his pit stop comes, or will he find himself being engulfed by Soule on a charge in the Bentley?
So Bernd Schneider, a little word on Bernd Schneider, John. 51 years old, to be leading a field as competitive as this, that is still pretty impressive. Do you ever lose it?
I think a driver his quality, experience, intelligence, and I'm putting those three sort of comments in no particular order. And off the track, coming down out of Graham Bend. Yeah. But what Bernd Schneider has done in his motor racing career, I think, is outstanding. And what he's doing now is an illustration that you never lose the ability, the skill, and the motivation. And just put him in the right car, put him in a 24-hour race. He is somebody you'd always have your money on.
So here's a battle between Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, who is coming under pressure from Jeroen Bleekemolen. They are battling over 13th position. Meyer-Melnhof in the blue and white Phoenix Audi. Bleekemolen there in the 16 green Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Has got the inside line, and they're going to go side by side up towards the right-hander, and through goes Bleekemolen. Good move past Meyer-Melnhof. The next man to come through is the man who's hurtling up through the order, Mitsunori Takaboshi-san.
Yeah, he'll be there, believe it or not. He's going to have horsepower to spare when he gets out onto the pit straight. But that was a great pass by Jeroen Bleekemolen, again getting its track position. And what's going on here? Enzo Eid, he's just run him down in the space of 1 lap by 1.3 seconds.
This is fantastic stuff from Maxime Soule. He is now right on the back of Enzo Eid for 2nd place. This is the Bentley that started this race down in 10th position on the grid, and at a track where you can't overtake, he has managed to find his way up into 3rd place, hounding the back of Enzo Eid in front. That last lap, he was the 2nd quickest man on the circuit. Only race leader Bernd Schneider was quicker through Hawthorne Bend.
So he's
and that's Davide Valsecchi off into the gravel trap for the Attempto Racing team at Druids. And that must be assisted, I'd have thought.
Well, difficult to tell. Most likely would be assisted. Whether there will be a localised, we're not seeing a localised yellow flag on our screens in the minute. So whether that car can return to the track under its own steam, or whether it's going to have to get assistance, we will hopefully soon find out.
The marshals are trying to push the car out of the gravel trap, I can see out of the window, but that's going to be an ambitious one. Oh, here they come through some back markers. This is the battle for 2nd place. Enzo Eid and Maxime Soule. Soule in the Bentley, right up behind Enzo Eid. He's right in the wheel tracks of that WRT Audi. Pulls to the outside on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. He'll then hold back, brake early, get on the power, and see if he can get the cutback up towards Druids, but there's going to be yellow flags up there, so he won't be able to.
Finally, the flags are being waved.
Oh, he goes in deep.
Yeah, and he didn't really slow down enough to recognise those wave yellow flags. Suspect his concentration was totally on what he was doing and not maybe picking up those flags, but certainly Soule needs to be careful not to overrun on the exit of Graham Hill Bend.
Stockinger, meanwhile, I'm just trying to figure out what's happened. It's with Felix Rosenqvist, because I think he's made up a couple of places. I'll keep an eye out on that one as they come through. Yeah, Rosenqvist is now ahead of, or still ahead, I should say, of Dries van Thor, but we'll keep an eye out on that one as they make their way around the circuit. But it's a very, very tight race, this one. What's this going on here? We've got Rodrigo Baptista in this fight. This is all over 17. Alexander Sims, credit to him, 17th, having started 37th. He's made up 20 places so far.
Well, and again, another product of every form of motorsport in the UK, but also British GT. So he knows bits of these racetracks where you can do things that nobody else might think about. So another outstanding drive from Alexander Sim, but of course, all the way down, currently at 17th.
35 minutes to go, just 5 minutes till the pit stop window opens. So let's keep an eye out here as... sorry, it's going to go 20 seconds.
20 seconds. I didn't want to correct you just too quickly, but anyway.
I haven't been doing this very long.
No, it's going to open in, well, 10 seconds. So the lead car, should it wish to do so.
It's just gone through now, hasn't it? So there is the 16 car of your own Blancpain making his way around now in 13th place. So he's now behind Michele Beretta, having got past Marcus Winkel, Nicky Melmanov. And now we're seeing some cars come in the pits, but they are from lower down the order.
So what are the attempt of Lamborghinis?
And here is, well, there is Alexander Sims. I wonder how far he can climb up the order. Melmanov now is up behind the Porsche, but that Porsche is a lap down. So then Didi Gonzalez gets out of the way. We're on board with Takaboshi as he exits, trying to be the next man to close in on Nicky Melmanov in front of him.
Stuart Leonard been directly behind in the Audi. He's getting pressure from Sims in the BMW. But when the Nissan gets the straight, look, again, going back to the battle for second place, Soule is all over the back of Enzo Weed, but not able to do anything about it. Will Enzo Weed opt to come in early? No, try that. Will Eid go into the pit? He does!
Yeah, so Enzo Eid comes in, and that was really the sort of obvious thing to do, I think, because get Christopher Mies in the car, and then you could have an opportunity of getting a quicker lap in. And actually, it's very busy in there. Eid, Stockinger, and Clement Schmidt all coming in together. So we'll keep an eye out who comes out in front in that battle. Eid parks it up. Christopher Mies gets in to take over. WRT very good at these pit stops, as we know. Also coming in is the number 4 WRT car of Dries van Thor to hand over to Robin Freins. And
busy BES 33, so it's a busy bit of the pit lane. The Mercedes in just ahead, so it's getting service. So who's going to be out first is...
That's a very quick pit stop actually for them, because they've come out well clear of the 74 car of Stockinger and Franck Pereira. So Franck Pereira and Marlon Stockinger lose a lot of time in that pit stop. Now who's going to come out here as Soule is making...
No, it's not
Soule. That's the 7 Bentley coming out of the pits. This looks slow to me.
There's a problem. I don't know what it is, but there's a problem at the right rear.
This is the Clement Schmidt, Jasmine Jafar car, and they've lost bucket loads of time, and they were in 5th place.
Stays out, continues. So there's a problem in that right rear. We can't quite see what it is. They've got the car still up in the jacks. This is reminiscent of what happened to Bentley back in the opening round in Misano, and what they opted to do was just send the car back out and fight the war afterwards. But the HTP Mercedes is still in the pits now, finally rolling.
There is the car in 2nd place then of Maxime Soule. We're on board with him. He's yet to pit. One little note on the timing screens: incident at turn 2 here at Druids between car 177 is under investigation. That's Davide Valsecchi, who we saw facing backwards at Druids, and his teammate Max van Splunteren. So that could be an awkward conversation.
Yes, I would have thought so. What's interesting to me is just in the last lap, the amount of time that Maxime Soule has taken out of the lead that we saw Bernd Schneider. So there is the 84 in, and in the minute the gap between 1st and 2nd is 8.7 seconds. We've got another 6 or 5.5 minutes where the pit lane is going to be open. So probably another lap and a half or 2 laps from the Mercedes, probably similar from the Bentley. There's now Maximilian Buch takes over and is on his way.
Oh, it's going to be a tight one, and in the end, as he...
Well, he had to stop, he had to let the Lamborghini go.
So that is not good news for Maximilian Buch. The 84 HTP Mercedes day gets worse and worse, unfortunately for them, but now we're still waiting for Bernd Schneider, our race leader, to pit. Maxime Soule, Rob Bell, Mike Parisi and Jeroen Blekemolen, the men up at the front who really are waiting to come into the pits. This, meanwhile, was Vincent Abril. No, he's coming to the pits, hasn't he? So it's Stephen Kane doing battle with the 19 Lamborghini, which is currently now in the hands of Lucas Stoltz.
The lead gap has remained pretty much static over the last lap, so it's still 8.4 seconds, a couple of tenths of a second maybe to the advantage of the Bentley, but nothing that's going to worry Bernd Schneider, who has had this comfortable lead since the lights went green up into Hawthorns.
Stephen Kane looking to find a way past Lucas Stoltz.
I mean, ordinarily, Stephen Kane is the go-to guy in Bentley when you need somebody to dig deep. Well, he's done it. He's done a great pass again, getting it right on the exit of Westfield and getting the run down into the bottom of the dip and putting himself again as the key is getting alongside. Here we go again, up into Westfield this time.
Well, this is
a lap.
Yeah, this is Bernd Schneider trying to get past the car that is a lap down, the Attempto racing machine. Not sure which one it is. Mirko Bortolotti, meanwhile, has just set the fastest lap of the race in his first lap out on the track in that Lamborghini.
Fresh tyres, but nevertheless, Mirko Bortolotti will be quick in the Lamborghini. He was very confident when we spoke to him on the grid.
That's one thing Bortolotti has in abundance,
coming in,
and that is confidence. In comes Bernd Schneider, race leader. Christopher Mies has just set the fastest first sector, 0.6 of a second quicker than this man, Maxime Soulet. So have the Bentley boys left it a little too late to come into the pits, because Mies is flying now.
They're coming into the pits. Bentley's in the pits now. So it's a matter of who's going to be quickest. Can the Mercedes turn around the Bernd Schneider, or will it be Bentley turning around the Maxime Soulet car?
But Christopher Mies is the man to watch out for as well, as is Stephen Kane, who's now gone the fastest of anyone in the first sector. Out gets Schneider, in gets Sim Kowiak. Out gets Soulet, in gets Andy Soucek. Is it going to be a neat and clean pit stop for these guys? The gap was 8.5 seconds when they came into the pits between the first and second place cars. Here comes Christopher Mies now through the final corner. The Bentley is away, and this is going to be tight, and he's going to come out just in front of the Bentley, but Mies is coming past both of them. Christopher Mies on the right-hand side goes through into what will surely be the net lead of the race, and the number 1 car is involved in that as well, but that is a car that has lost an awful lot of time earlier on, and so I don't think Vervish is truly in this fight as they come through the hairpin now up at Druids. But let's find where Christopher Mies is. He's just coming through Graham Hill Bend now, and he is in front of these two. There goes the WRT Audi.
I mean, again, the key to this race is not going to be just about your track performance. Great work in the pit lane by the WRT team, and Christopher Mies will be a hard guy to beat, certainly for the Mercedes to catch. Look at the relief from Maxime Soulet. I mean, he did a great job. Delighted by the team.
But Christopher Mies on that previous lap set the fastest lap of the race. A stunning lap from the German, and he has now taken over the lead of this race net. We've still got a couple more drivers to pit, but he is in front of Jules Simkowiak, who in turn is in front of I'm losing track of this now. Andy Soucek. Soucek.
So Soucek in third place, chasing down Jules Simkowiak in the Mercedes.
Is Parisi in to hand over to Christopher Hasse.
Again, what's interesting is the Bentley has taken on the Bentley team. The M Sport team took out a bunch of time over that of the HTP team, because HTP, when they came in, had about an 8-second advantage. Now it's down to under a second.
Yep, absolutely. So Mies across the line in the lead of the race. Across the line in second is Jules Simkowiak. Third is Soucek. Fourth is Vervish. It is the Vervish Vanthor car in fourth position. I can't quite figure out how they've managed to do that.
I mean, they had a pit stop with a cut tyre.
So maybe they haven't made their second pit stop.
That's correct.
Well, that's what it is. So Vervish is still in the car, hasn't handed over to Lawrence Vanthor. So that explains it.
Yes, it does. I mean, we got there in the end, but I mean, it was slightly confusing. If you look at the pit stops, you have to remember that that number 1 car had a pit stop for, let's call it, an unforced error.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's clarify it again then. Christopher Mies leads for WRT Audi there in that R8. Second place is Jules Simkowiak for the HTP Bentley team. Third, Andy Soucek for M Sport Bentley. Fourth in Net World is Franck Pereira for the ISR team, and we'll see where Mike Parisi came out in all of that as well once he comes around and past the timing beam again. This is a close battle between two WRT cars. It's Sergio Jimenez, I think, up against Michael Meadows now, as Lawrence Vanthor gets ready to take over the car from fourth place, and they're going to drop well down the order. If they're lucky, into the top 20, but I'd be surprised if they can even manage to get that high, to be honest with you. So this is the battle between Jimenez and Meadows over 15th position at the moment.
I mean, this is a highest quality GT field in motorsport right now, and some outstanding driving we've seen all the way through this race. Andy Soucek for one, for example. Well, it's a little bit of a pit stop fight. This is now the number 1 having its service, so Lawrence Vanthor will get in. Frederik Vermees gets out, and there's obviously clearly going to be a disappointing afternoon for the number 1 pairing.
New fastest lap of the race set by Jules Simkowiak. That man in second position, 3 seconds behind Christopher Mies up in front of him, but he was only a 1/10 of a second quicker than Christopher Mies on that last lap, so it's going to take a lot for Jules Simkowiak to close in that gap to Mies. And behind, they were both 7/10 of a second quicker than Andy Soucek in third position. Franck Pereira lapped similarly. In fact, Alvaro Parent in 5th place was the quickest man out of 3rd, 4th and 5th, but he is quite a way back behind, about 8 seconds behind the battle with Franck Pereira and Andy Soucek.
Well, we saw what Simkowiak could do when he led the sprint race. He was unchallenged, he did a wheel perfect race. Now he's got to become a racer and run down that 3-second lead that the number 33 Audi of Christopher Mies has got. And he's got to be very careful, because directly behind him is Andy Soucek, just around about a second. You can just about see the gap. So for Simkowiak, he did a lot of growing up in that race this morning. This is going to be another lesson for him. Number 7 as Stephen Kane comes through.
So Christopher Mies leading this race. He and Enzo Eid having a very good afternoon here in Brands Hatch. Conor De Filippi, who's Christopher Mies' teammate in the German GT Championship, has just tweeted saying, "Bam, that's my teammate, Christopher Mies into P1." And he says he'd love to do a few Blancpain races. It's exciting stuff. Well,
let's have a few more.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have add another 4 in.
Exactly. You're welcome to come, Conor, anytime. So
whoa.
Very wide there.
Andy
from
Soucek, yeah, slips rail, all 4 wheels off. That would be again one of those areas where there will be a little notification made to the team, so they do not like abuse, especially at the bottom of Grave Hill Bend.
So the closest battle at the moment is probably Stephen Kane and Tristan Vautier over 7th position, which is the one we are seeing here. Then we wait back and you see Lucas Stoltz, who is leading the Silver Cup class, but he is just in front of Maximilian Buch in the 84 HTP Mercedes, and every position is crucial now because it's all about points. We've got a drive-through penalty for cars 16 and 63. So the Jeroen Bleekemolen and Stefan Racina Grasser Racing Lamborghini and the Mirko Bortolotti Nicholas Pola.
Correct.
That's
interesting. Both cars, both from the same team, both same manufacturer, both getting done. That sounds like maybe there's an issue that's beyond the driver control.
Oh, and 2 cars off, and it's the 2 WRT cars. Meadows and Jimenez have come together.
Westfield,
and that's
Westfield.
on the exit of Westfield. So that is not a pleasant moment at all. And that has taken the 2 car out of 2nd place in the Silver Cup. So Michael Meadows off, Sergio Jimenez off. They were battling over 14th position. Jimenez looked like he got going again. Doesn't look as though that's going to be the case.
Now again, the car in a part of the racetrack that somebody's going to look at and judge, can it be moved quickly to safety. There's one marshal at the car, but whether the marshals are going to be happy with that, I suspect that might be potential full course yellow.
Yeah, minimum full course yellow, I'd have thought, if the car's there on the exit of Westfield Bend. The driver is away now, but possibly a safety car. Meadows is out. There is Dries van Thorp. And there is our 2nd place car of Jules Simkowiak. The gap has come down to just under 3 seconds now. As they come across the line, Christopher Mies and Jules Simkowiak, it's now 2.3 seconds. So that last lap, Simkowiak took 7/10 of a second. Safety car deployed, so all that climbing in the gap doesn't matter. The gap's gone.
The gap has gone, and it's going to take 5 minutes or so from the point when everybody is under the control of the safety car. So that'll leave maybe about 15 minutes remaining of racing with everybody bunched up once again.
Wow.
And this race is not over. The story of this race is about to begin all over again.
I thought it was just calming down.
Dominic Byman's face. He's looking and wondering, well, what's going to happen to our car? We're in right now down in 10th place. That's given us some life again.
Yeah, absolutely. It means that they can now close in on the cars in front.
And Maxime Soulet also, suddenly focusing on the timing and scoring. We're currently in 3rd place, 3.4 seconds behind the Mercedes in 2nd. That again brings us back up into being, well, they're currently on a provisional podium. There is the safety car picking up one of the tail markers.
Now, the problem is it's picked up 3rd place. So there's the 8 car, and and so Mies and Simkoviak are elsewhere out on the track. So
either they've got to do a wave through.
There they are. So they're ahead on the track, you see. So that's
It's
the
a
problem.
mess. It's a bit of a mess, in other words. Because how do you sort it out?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
They're not running it. They're not running at the pace of the safety car.
No. So they're going to catch up to the back of the queue.
Yes. And they'll be almost a lap ahead.
Okay,
of the
here we
rest of
go.
the
So they're waving everyone through
Good.
now. So I mean, to be fair, in the time it takes to actually clear up the mess, hopefully by then everyone will have made it back around.
So this is going to sort itself.
So let's look at the top of the shot on this replay with Jimenez and Meadows. Oh, there they go. So, well, can't really make
there was
out
contact
much,
between the two cars. Who was right, who was wrong? You know, they both have different versions of the same story. So, you know, it's hard to tell. Obviously, contact side by side in the middle of Westfield, and it was the Leonard Meadows car that was the one that came off the worst in that incident. Whether it'll be classified as a racing incident or whether it'll be investigated as being something more.
Tommy Toe, using the hashtag Blancpain GP, says, yeah, I'm not surprised there's a safety car with the car there. Time to get your popcorn ready for the conclusion of this race, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting.
So safety car waiting for the lead idea of Christopher Mies to come around. There is the number 2 car, still no tow truck available to come and put it to safety. Normally they have them located around the circuit, but normally where it is in the little gap between Surtees and Clearways, the bit that is part of the Indy racetrack. So it would probably have to make its way all around the racetrack to the most distant point at Westfield before it can pick up the number 2 Audi.
Yeah, well, they are, these two are going for it anyway, aren't they? They're still pushing pretty hard as they make their way up now towards the hairpin at Druids with 18.5 minutes to go. We're behind safety car conditions here at Brands Hatch, in what has been a action-packed and frenetic main race here. And thank you very much for joining us. We're back next weekend in Silverstone, just up the M1, and that'll be a 3-hour endurance event. We're waiting for the safety car to pick up the race leaders, which are these two guys here, Christopher Mies and Jules Simkoviak, and then...
But, you know, Jack, at the pace these two are running at, when they catch the safety car, the rest of the field is probably half a lap or more behind. It's almost as like we've got a safety car on track, but everybody's back to race speed.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So there is the 2 car of Michael Meadows being pulled away, and that's a man who was out there come the... so, okay, they're about to get to the safety car now. The safety car was just cruising through the corner there, so there we go. Safety car found, and now... But they still haven't cleared up the Michael Meadows car, so give it a lap. Everyone will be back on the back, and we'll be racing.
Yes, all we need is for the Audi to be clear, and the last glimpse we got of the car, it didn't look like they were anywhere near getting it removed, so... Okay, safety car is in control now. Got the lead Audi, the Mercedes, and waiting for the Bentley to come. Then there is number 8 Bentley. So he is behind the Ferrari. Now that's probably going to be a little bit of a frustration for Andy Soucek, because he's going to have that car behind or ahead of him when he wants to be looking at having a little look at the and apparently Lamborghini as well, I gather. So not ideal for Andy Soucek, but you know.
And it's the Mirko Bortolotti Lamborghini as well, so it's going to be rapid. Whether it's served its drive-through penalty yet, yes, it has. So Bortolotti has served his drive-through penalty, but he's going to be... I mean, Bortolotti could be sort of the quickest one of these 4 cars.
At one point on his opening, his first flag lap, that we see the Audi now being pulled to safety. There's a gap in the barriers, which it'll be hopefully allowed to slot into. But Bortolotti on his new set of tyres, when he first went out and put in the fastest lap, that's now subsequently been overtaken by the 33 Audi and the 86 Mercedes.
So the WRT Audi almost removed. There's a bit of...
that was big damage to the barrier. Now, will they want to...
I think it's just the foam on the outside, actually, by the looks of things. The tyres are relatively intact.
Race director's got to take all this into consideration. That part of the track might have to keep a localized yellow flag to prevent anybody from attempting to do what we've seen, and we've seen a number of overtakes in that Westfield Bend area. So that's one option that they could have. So the middle sector of that track at that point could be under yellow for the remaining 15 minutes.
So the cars are all in a line now, pretty much behind the safety car, except a Nissan, and that's the 22 car of Sean Walkinshaw. And there is the stressed look inside the Bentley pit garage as Andy Soucek. Well, this has helped him because he was charging up through the order, but was too far off the back. Oh, and there's a truck still on the circuit there on the left-hand side as well.
Yes.
So they've still got to, so there must be some damage there that a marshal has just recovered. So it'll be one more lap, I'd have thought, behind the safety car because they won't be able to get it cleared up quite in time because they still had the marshals out on the track. So maybe one more tour.
Yeah, I mean, obviously M Sport, Bentley, they're looking at the situation. If I was them, I'd be sending some of my personnel up to the respective pits of the Lamborghini and the Ferrari to say, please instruct your drivers to let our guy go through. He's in a race for the lead of this race. So please do not go motor racing with the Bentley currently in third place when you're wherever you might be in the field.
So across the line they come behind the safety car still. We had a nice uninterrupted safety car, race earlier on, but a little bit more disruption today.
Why we haven't had a safety car earlier is beyond me. I mean, this has been 37 cars around the 5.4 kilometre Brands Hatch circuit is pretty congested, and there's been some real door handle to door handle racing.
And 14 minutes to go then, the safety car really easing off. And yeah, as you say, as you look at the safety car queue, first and second are first and second, Mies and Simkowiak. Then you've got a Lamborghini and Ferrari. They are out of sync. They are laps down. And Stefan Lemaire, that Ferrari actually is in the AM Cup as well. It's not even a Pro-Am car. It's just two bronze drivers competing. Stefan Lemaire at the wheel. So that...
I think they're about to go green. They're all backing up. So when will the safety car return into the pit lane? It looks like... Where is it? We can't really get a view of it there. The safety car's still in position, so it hasn't decided it's time to go back to the pits.
Robin Freins running in 12th place at the moment. This is what he needed really after a difficult race so far. Same is true of Laurens van Thor. Watch for those two charging up through the order. Alex Buncombe in 15th place after that superb opening run from Mitsunori Takebashi. That Nissan having a good run. Can they grab a point or two before the end? Points go down to 10th position, which when there were sort of 20 cars on the grid, you thought that seemed fair. When you've got 40 cars on the grid, only points to 10th seems a little bit harsh sometimes.
I mean, it is, it's tough. I mean, this series this year has become doubly tough.
So, have we got lights out on the safety car? No. There must still be some problems up there. We didn't see it at Westfield Bend, I don't think, because they came around last time, or at least I didn't spot it. So we may well have one more lap behind the safety car. And so they are going to carry on out there. Through the right-hander. Mies leading, Simkowiak second. Third for Andy Soucek. Bernd Schneider, hello. Having a good race so far, and that man Maxime Soule, what a drive!
I mean, stunning. I mean, that's going to be, in my view, the drive of the day, as far as Blancpain Sprint Series is involved, and GT Sprint Series to give it its correct title. So Maxime Soule should be very happy indeed. I'm sure the Bentley team were overjoyed with his progress when he really made, unexpectedly quick progress.
Lukas Stoltz is currently leading the Silver Cup in the number 19 car that he shares with Michele Beretta. Second in the Silver Cup is Jeroen Mull in the 100 car, and Sean Walkinshaw is third in the Silver Cup at this present time with 11 minutes to go. Still got the lights on the safety car. We'll keep an eye out as they come through Westfield next time as to whether there's still work going on. Well, as far as Pro-Am is concerned, it's the 11 car leading that one, the Kessel machine of Michael Broniszewski and Giacomo Piccini. There we go. Is that the truck that we were waiting for?
Yes, that's going to be now removed. So he was working, I don't know whether it was at the binding that goes in front of the tower wall to get it all tidied up, but he's now getting that reversed back into the little gap, and once it's behind the barriers and secure, then the safety car, the light will go out, and waiting to see it still on at the minute as they come down Pilgrim Drop. Safety car in this lap.
Here we go then, 10-minute shootout, all ready to go. Maxime Soule feeling the nerves as his teammate Andy Soucek is in third place, but he's got two lapped cars between he and the cars he wants to attack. Jules Simkowiak looking racy, tucked right up behind Christopher Mies. Simkowiak, if you look at best lap times of the race so far, has a 1/10 of a second advantage or so over Christopher Mies. Behind Souček, he needs to be careful as well. Franck Pereira, Alvaro Parent, Christopher Hasse, all there waiting to get through and to get past and to try and make up places. The safety car pulls in, a 10-minute showdown about to get underway at Brands Hatch when Christopher Mies decides to stamp on the throttle and get the racing back underway. There he goes. Jules Simkowiak goes with him in second place in that 86 HDP Mercedes. Out through the final corner, we're green once again, and now we're going to see a nose-to-tail fight for the victory, as we did in Monza a couple of weeks ago in the Endurance Series. We will soon see everybody try and get out of the way. There's the 59 McLaren getting out of the way of the 58 McLaren, pretty sharpish. Good work from the Garage 59 team. It's actually pretty spread out at that restart.
It is. I mean, Christopher Mies made the best of that safety car going into the pit lane, but Jules Simkowiak was right on it. He didn't lose anything whatsoever. The loser right now is Andy Souček, who is still yet to find a way past the Ferrari and the Lamborghini.
Now here's the attack from the 77 car isn't involved in the fight either. Mirko Bortolotti is through there as they come through the left-hander of Clearways and down in towards Pilgrim's Drop with 9 minutes to go in this race. Lights flashing from Andy Souček. He wants that back-marking Ferrari out of the way as quickly as possible, and Stefan Lemeret is still in that position. Can Souček go for it into Westfield Bend? We'll keep an eye out for that one, but here's our first and second place men. No, Souček still isn't through. Up towards the right-hander of Dingledell, or Sheen, as it's now known. Can Souček find a way past? No, and this is really not only compromising his chances of getting forward, it's increasing his chances of getting past, because right behind him is Franck Pereira, and right behind Pereira is Alvaro Parent.
Yeah, I know this is always going to be the problem, and I don't know why the Bentley team, or maybe they have gone down to the Ferrari guys and said to get out of our way. We need to have better now.
Whoa, side by side, the McLaren up the inside as well.
Parent's got past the Audi.
Yes, Parent goes through, past Franck Pereira, down into Paddock Hill Bend. And finally as well, the Bentley has managed to get past the Ferrari. Can Parent dispatch the Ferrari pretty promptly? Yes, he can. Pereira looks to the inside, and now I think Stefan Lemeret has realised he's not in this fight and is starting to get out the way of everybody as Maxime Soulet watches on, his car in third place, and it's all okay now because he's got a bit of a gap to the cars behind.
But he's got a 3.8 second deficit to the second place Mercedes. There's the Mercedes exiting Surtees. There's the Bentley just about. So what have we got? 7.5 minutes to make over 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds. Big ask, and that's really to get to the tail of the Mercedes.
Absolutely, and I don't think the Bentley has had the outright pace. Look at this side by side coming down into the right-hander of Hawthorne. That was brave stuff there from Marco Mappelli, and I don't think he's involved in this fight either. The marshals furiously waving the blue flags at the driver of the 77 car because he's in 31st place. There's only, in fact, he is the lowest place runner. So why he's fighting with anyone, not really sure.
He's a racer. I'm a racing driver. Hey, you know, that's part of the problem. You know, some cultures are a little bit more racy than others.
Northern Irish, the most racy of all. 7 minutes to go as across the line comes Christopher Mies, leading Jules Simkowiak by just half a second. Well, you can see there, it's pretty much remained steady at about half a second for these last couple of laps. They're disappearing off into the distance. Ignore that Lamborghini of Bortolotti. Third is the Bentley. Fourth is the 58 car of Parent.
The Bentley is marooned basically because it's lost a little bit of time to the second place Mercedes, and is now under attack from Alvaro Parent, who has got ahead of steam. He thinks he's got a chance of taking that third place.
Spin for this, not quite sure which one it was. It's one of the Ferraris squirming across the racetrack and manages to recover in the end, because I think we've got another slow Ferrari out there as they come through the left-hander. It was the 11 Kessel car of Pacini, Giacomo Pacini, that was leading Pro-Am, that went sliding. Now we've got battles here as Max Buch tries to make his way up the order as they come down Pilgrim's Drop. He is tucked up behind the 88.
Rosenquist.
Yep, it's Tristan Vautier at the wheel now, and that's the battle over 8th spot. So Buch has made up positions already to get past Lucas Stoltz. 5.5 minutes to go now, and look at that up the inside. There's going to be contact there, surely. Pushed wide, and that's Marcus Winkelhock trying to go around the outside, or hold on around the outside, I think, from the attack from behind, and he just manages to do so. That was Robin Flates trying to pass Winkelhock for 11th place.
A lot of experience with Marcus Winkelhock. He braved that one out. Robin French tried to lob it up the inside, and almost got it done, but Marcus did not concede.
Still half a second between Mies and Simkowiak in first and second places. That battle is not relenting by any stretch of the imagination as they plunder down through Paddock Hill Bend. Still Andy Soucek in third place, and fourth for Alvaro Parent, fifth for Franck Pereira, sixth for Christopher Hasser. Really good drive from him, and it's a fantastic performance from he and Mike Parisi in that sign-to-lock Audi. So less than 5 minutes to go in what has been an action-packed day here at Brands Hatch. 2 races in one day. Now this is Maximilian Buch. He's already had one overlap coming through Graham Hill Bend, couldn't get the job done. Now he's going to try and go side by side and pass Rosenquist and Vautier in the 88 car, and he manages to pull it off. So Buch through into 8th position now. So Buch climbing up the order for the HDP Mercedes past the Acura ASP Mercedes. And that is Alvaro Parent in 4th spot, right on the back now of Andy Soucek. These two were teammates with the ART Grand Prix squad a couple of years ago in the Blancpain Endurance Series. But now with 4 minutes to go, they are very much rivals for the final podium position at Brands Hatch. The home race for Bentley, the home race for McLaren. Only one of them can be on the podium. Mies and Simkowiak, the gap down to 0.3 of a second, the tightest it's been since the safety car came in. Up towards Druids. Around the right-hander, and then dropping down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. They haven't quite managed to bring Franck Pereira with them in the 74 ISR Audi. He's there or thereabouts, but not quite with them. But here, nose to tail for the lead of the main race. We've got a slowing car out there, and it's the 7 Bentley. The 7 Bentley has run into trouble, I think. But this is the focus on the lead. Mies versus Simkowiak. Mies in the WRT Audi. Simkowiak, the 20-year-old Dutchman in the HDP Mercedes. But where can he make the move? That is the question. Ahead of the qualifying race, he said to Bernd Schneider, you know what, I'm going to go around the outside at turn 1 at the start of this race. Bernd Schneider said, no, don't do that. Don't be a damn fool. But he did it, and he got around the outside. There's the nerves for Enzo Eid as they come out through clearways, and Clark Curve once again. 2.5 minutes to go now. So this is going to be starting the penultimate lap of the race. 2 laps to go for Christopher Mies to hang on. Bernd Schneider's seen it all before, but I think he's still feeling it a little bit. Up through the hairpin of Druids. Watty's gone down to speak to someone in Parc Fermé. Who it will be, we'll wait and see. Still Andy Soucek in third, but he's only 0.4 of a second ahead of Alvaro Parent. This is the penultimate lap. As they fall down Pilgrim's Drop. It wasn't actually a problem for Vincent Abril. He just lost a place to Maximilian Buch. So Buch is now up to 7th position. And Vincent Abril and Stephen Kane still running in 8th spot. There is Alvaro Parent. 4th place for him at the moment, using all the road and a little bit more as he tries his best to push. We've just got one more lap to go, and it doesn't look as though Jules Simkowiak is going to have enough to make the move. Through the final corner at Clearways, into Clark Curve, and across the line. One more tour for these two. Mies or Simkowiak. WRT gaining huge amounts of time in the pit stop window. That's what gave them the lead of this race. The gap between them just 0.3 of a second. Down into Graham Hill Bend for the final time. Enzo Eid nervous as anything. He has won a main race before in Zandvoort when his teammate was René Rast. But I think he and Mies would be over the moon to get a victory here. It would launch them up in the Blancpain GT standings. Mies only competing in the Sprint Cup this season. Bernd Schneider watching his young Dutch teammate trying to put the pressure on Mies, a multiple GT champion. The clock counts down to 0. The drivers have only 2 corners to go. One garage is going to erupt with delight. The other is going to be satisfied with a second place. Through the left-hander. There's only one more corner to go now for Christopher Mies. Can he hold on? Down towards Clearways. He's got the job done as he turns into the final corner. The checkered flag is waiting for Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede. It's a main race victory for WRT Audi. Mies and Ede win at Brands Hatch. Second across the line for Jules Simkowiak and Bernd Schneider. It's going to be third just about for Andy Soucek. He finishes just a 1/10 of a second ahead of Alvaro Perret from Pereira in 5th. Good drive from Christopher Hasser and Mike Parisi in 6th. Book recovers to 7th. Abril and Kane in the other Bentley finish in 8th place. Look at this stream across the line. Lucas Stoltz wins Silver Cup. Winkelhock 11th, Freyntz in 12th. Van Thor recovers to 15th. But Vincent Voss on the left hugs Enzo Ede, the race winner. And you have to say, he did a very good job in that opening stint. Silver Cup win going the way of Lucas Stoltz and Michele Beretta. And hugs and applause all around. As the cars make their way back. Well, thank you very much for joining us here at Brands Hatch for the coverage over the last couple of days. Do stay with us. We're going to be hearing from our winners and watching the podium presentations. But this is the man, Christopher Mies. Out climbs Christopher Mies, winner of the main race at Brands Hatch. In the number 33 WRT Audi, there's Ede arriving. Absolute delight. And there's delight for Andy Soucek as well. He and Maxime Soule had a great drive. Everybody's over the moon. But what a great drive that was from Maxime Soule. In, you know, that might be one of the best drives I've seen in the last 5 years of covering Blancpain. Really impressive stuff from Soule on a track you can't overtake. He just smashed his way through the order. So let's hear from Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede. We will hear from them. The winners of the race, they're talking to John Watson.
Enzo Ede, I've never seen you so happy. I think that's going to be your best drive ever at racing at this level.
Approximately, yeah. We had some good results before in my racing career, but on this level where you can say 75% of professional drivers winning the overall main race, for me it's a great feeling. The car was perfect, the team did a great job on the pit stops, my teammate absolutely fantastic, and I had a good start. The pace was good because the car was really, I had a lot of confidence, so we could really push, and it was very nice.
Well done. Now, Christopher, Enzo did a great opening stint. Team did their job in the pit lane, but you brought it home, and there was a big challenge all the way through for you.
Well, I think I did the less of anyone here in our team. Enzo moved up to P2, and the boys did the quickest pit stop, I think. Unreal, just unreal. I mean, the car was amazing to drive. Thanks to WRT, Audi and Enzo, it's a fantastic day, and I think we can be proud of us.
Now, when the safety car came out in the closing moments, did that give you any concerns?
No, our car was so good.
I was just managing the gap between me and the Merc. Probably he could have gone a bit quicker if I wouldn't be there, but I knew it's quite hard to overtake here, so I just closed the door where it's possible to overtake, and everywhere else I was quicker, so good thing.
Good job for the 33, well done guys.
You do have to, I'm not saying Christopher Mies isn't telling the truth, but managing the gap at 0.3 of a second, I think, is an interesting tactic. So now let's hear Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak. There with John.
Bernd, you were just saying it was a bit hot in the office today for you.
Yeah, it was a hot day in the office. No, it was good. It was excellent. The car was pretty good in the beginning. I was pushing hard, but then in the end I went into the traffic. The other cars could show and blow flag because there was left, but they didn't let me by, and we lost, I think, 2-3 seconds. This was exactly what we lost during the pits, and then yeah, Christopher was in front, and they had a good speed too, and there was no way for Jules to overtake them. But we are very happy. I think we achieved much more than we expect before, and this is always great.
Well, I think you both did a great job. Jules, you had the task of running down Christopher Mies. At any point, did you think you were ever going to get close enough?
Before the safety car, I actually wasn't really sure. It was for me difficult coming out of the pit to really find my pace. Then there was the safety car, and when there was the restart, I just had a little bit of pickup, so I again had a little bit of gap. Then I was, I think maybe a millisecond faster, I don't know. So I could catch up again, and I tried, but you know, it's on this track especially, it's really hard to overtake, and I was not that much faster. So it was a great battle. He was driving really well. He had a great pace, and I would like to thank HGP Motorsport for the nice car, because they gave us a really good weekend.
Excellent, well done. The youth and the experience. Great to see it.
It's almost like us, Watty, as Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak then finish in second position. And third place then for Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulet. That charge from Maxime Soulet was absolutely phenomenal at the start, and so let's hear from the Bentley boys. A good main race result for them there with John.
Maxime, you were passing cars on the racetrack, but everybody said it's impossible to pass. How did you do it?
I don't know. I just took. I was a bit careful on the first race. You know, just taking my marks for the first time. Yeah. And on the second race, I thought, okay, now it's time to push and to show what the Bentley Continental GT3 can do. And I think we did a good job. Andy and I, we come from quite far, from 24, then 10 to P3, so it's quite good.
Well, it was fantastic to watch. But Andy, we saw your face at one point when one of Max's passed. I can't believe that.
And it was unbelievable. I mean, I think it was the race of his life. What he did in that first stint, I couldn't believe it, because we really didn't have the pace, but the car came to us, the truck as well, and he was on new tires, so he used them, as I did in the first race, to make up places. But I mean, 7 places in that first stint. Then I struggled with the used tires, but it was good enough to claim P3, so it was mega.
Great to watch. Better get up on the podium, guys. Well done. Congratulations.
Yes, the podium's being handed out to the mechanics, and it is the top step is that Bentley, I think, who are on the top step of the podium for the pit stop challenge, as the mechanics get to spray the champagne here at Brands Hatch. Absolute delight for them. Yes, it is the Bentley boys, isn't it? Here's the results after 39 laps of racing. Win for WRT Audi. How often have we said that? Often. How often have we said Enzo Ede and Christopher Mies? Not very often. Superb performance from them. Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak finishing in second position. Maxime Soulet and Andy Soucek in third spot. Rob Bell and Alvaro Parent, a sort of a quiet race to fourth place, really. There was so much going on elsewhere that they just got their head down, did their race, and ended up finishing in that fourth position. Stockinger and Pereira fifth, and sixth for Mike Parisi and Christopher Hasse, which, as I say, was a very impressive performance, I think, considering where they started the qualifying race yesterday. And we've got Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch. They managed to recover after slipping down the order in the early stages of the weekend. So then we had Max van Sprinter and Jeroen Mull. They've got second place in the Silver Cup. It was the 10th place car that took the win in Silver Cup of Michele Beretta and Lucas Stoltz. Frederick Claviche and Lawrence Van Thor, a 0 points return for this race here today, and that is going to put the pressure on them as they head to the next race in Silverstone in just a week's time. 25th for the other Garage 59 car of Martin Plowman and Com Ledegaard, Steve Parrow and Daniel Kelvitz, finishing in 26th position. The winner of the Pro-Am was the Pacini car, the 11 Kessel Racing machine that he shares with Broniszewski. Then second in that class was Morgan Moulin-Trafort, and a non-finish for Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. So here come the podiums, the Silver Cup winners, Luca Stoltz and Michele Beretta. Maxime Soule and Andy Soucek out onto the third step of the podium in the Pro Cup. All about Maxime Soule. It's always a relief when you say that's an amazing driver and then the drivers agree with you. Second place, Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak. And there is the WRT team manager out onto the podium, but the top step, Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid take the victory at Brands Hatch. The top step for the German Mies and the Belgian Eid and the Belgian Audi Club. So great performance from Eid and Mies. Audi win, Mercedes second, Bentley third. And, well, that shows you how strong the balance of performance is here as well. David Willey handing out the trophies there. Delight for Soucek and Soule. They've had a really good start to the season, which is nice to see. Sort of traditionally almost, that number 8 Bentley hasn't had much luck. Simkowiak and Bernd Schneider continuing their strong form. The MSV events manager, David Willey. And he is now handing over the biggest trophies of all to Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid, who win the main race in Brands Hatch. The top step for Belgian Audi Club. Mies and Eid win. And they'll be trying to take that momentum forward to the next round of the championship in Silverstone. And Jonathan Wells, the Pirelli race engineer, handing out the prize, which is a set of new tyres for the Silver Cup winners. It's 25,000 euros awarded by Stefan Rattel to the third place gang. And it is 30,000 euros, sorry, to the second place team, 30,000 euros to the winners. Not that Mies or Eid get any of it, but it's all, every little helps. The champagne sprayed on the podium here at Brands Hatch. Bentley delighted, HTP satisfied, WRT over the moon. Enzo Eid and Christopher Mies on the top step. Can they repeat it in 1 week's time in Silverstone? That is the question. So next up we're going to have the AM podium. Sorry, the Pro-Am podium, I should say. Only one car in the AM Cup. The 37 cars. As Jules Simkowiak drinks the champagne on the top step. Sorry, I'm giggling because John's just made it back up to the commentary box. We'll give him 5 or 10 minutes, and then we then we will. Yeah, I thought you took all your stuff. Oh, he left his phone up here. That's the problem. It's all good exercise.
Yeah, you tell me that. I think I've climbed Mount Everest over the last 2 days.
So the
without oxygen.
Eid and Mies, really good
class.
performance.
I mean, I think Christopher is an outstanding. Christopher Mies is outstanding. Put him in a car He's professional, he's good, he delivers. And you have to give Enzo E credit today for starting in the front row of the grid, all that pressure, but he did what he had to do, didn't put a wheel wrong, handed the car back to Christopher BES, and it was a job done.
There are our winners in the AM Cup. Stéphane Lemeray taking the victory, and they're out into third place. In the Pro-Am Cup is the 66 Black Pearl car, and that is Steve Parrow and Daniel Karlwitz. Second place in the Pro-Am, going the way of the Carreras P machine of Jean-Luc Bobelic and Morgan Moulin-Traffort. And the winning drivers are the number 11 Kessel Racing team, Mikhail Broniszewski and Giacomo Piccini onto the top step, along with the Kessel Racing team manager. And another top step for Broniszewski. He's already won today in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, but the Kessel team over the moon. So delight for the Kessel team. Mikhail Broniszewski's fourth podium, in fact, because he won both GT Sports Clubs earlier on today. He was second in the qualifying race, I believe. That's not a bad haul, John.
You'll have to say, apart from Robert Kubica, who's the most probably famous Polish motorsport personality, this is mega to win 4 races. I mean, that's 2 one-hour races plus 2 30-minute or whatever. 3 hours around Brands Hatch is physical. On a day like today when it was hot, and we even heard Bernd Schneider saying that the oven was on full throttle, it was warm.
Yeah.
Okay, front engine car may be slightly different to a rear engine, nevertheless, I mean, that's pretty good stamina, pretty high level of fitness.
So David Willey, he called David Willey then, David Willey handing out the trophies on the podium, and the winners in the Pro-Am class, Giacomo Piccini and Mikhail Broniszewski. Fantastic performance from them. Stefan Rattel there as well to hand out the checks. The CEO of the Stefan Rattel organisation who put on the Blancpain GT Series. Next up, John, just a week until... oh, and there's the drivers' points for the Sprint Cup. It means Ede and Mies now move to the top of that championship. Simkoviak and Schneider, Vanthor and Vervish tied on points. That's very tight.
Well, next round of the Sprint is going to be at Nürburgring in June. And that's on the short version of the Nürburgring circuit, not the Grand Prix length. So that will be, again, a totally different racetrack for the Blancpain GT Sprint Series cars to visit.
So the champagne sprayed on the Pro-Am podium. A fantastic race for them as well, and the Kessel team doing well because they had a trip off the circuit a little bit earlier on in that race, and I think Rattel just got some champagne, which I don't know if he's going to be over the moon about as he legs his way off the podium, and a very happy gang. Here's a look at the overall drivers' points. Rob Bell has now moved into the lead of the Blancpain GT Series. Maximilian Buch and Dominic Baumann in second. Sule and Soucek up into third position. This is the combination between the Sprint Cup and the Endurance Cup. Lawrence Vanthor and Frederic Vervish dropped to fourth, but they're still very much in the mix. But Rob Bell is the man who departs Brands Hatch, his home race, heading to another home race on the top of the championship, a race that he won last year in the McLaren. Shane van Gersbergen and Alvaro Parent in 8th and 9th positions as we make our way further down the order. But the headline news, Rob Bell leads the championship. So a frantic main race at Brands Hatch got underway, and it was managed to hold the lead of the race as everyone went side by side through Paddock Hill Bend. There was a real charge from Maxime Sule going around the outside of Clement Schmidt up at the right-hander of Hawthorne. Soucek couldn't believe what he was seeing. Then the Vervish car and the number 1 WRT Audi ran into trouble, tried to get out of the way, but with so many cars bearing down, couldn't. Takebashi-san decided to take 2 cars in one run towards Hawthorne Bend, something I've not really seen done before. And Sule's charge then continued as he made his way past Marlon Stockinger, coming over the start line. Down into Paddock Hill Bend, a really impressive manoeuvre from him. We had some great side-by-side action as Marcus Nicky Melnoff lost out to Jeroen Bleekemolen. Into the pits, once again, a fantastic performance from the WRT Audi team, saw them come out in front of the 86 HTP Mercedes of Bernd Schneider and Jules Simkowiak, and they only just got out in front of the 8 Bentley as the back end twitched out as they tried to fly out of the pit lane. But that meant Mies was in the lead of the race, and it looked fairly comfortable for him, you have to say, until the two WRT Audis got together. Michael Meadows and Sergio Jimenez bringing out the safety car, erasing the advantage, and that was stressful for Maxime Soule. Safety car came in. Away went the race leader, Christopher Mies. He was in front of the HTP Mercedes of Simkowiak and Schneider, and try as they could, none of them could make a move. We had some great action further back in the field. Soule and Soucek finishing in third place, second for that 86 HTP Mercedes, but the race win in the Brands Hatch Sprint Cup event going the way of Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid. They move to the top of the Sprint Cup. Rob Bell leads the overall GT series as we leave Brands Hatch and head up to Silverstone next weekend.